You're listening to the Plane Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carla Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Help me.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 176 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I'm Carl Stebbings, and joining me this week are my two co-hosts, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Hello. It's
Hello.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I have no words. I'll leave everyone else to do the talking this week.
We'll leave you to get on with the pressing button of things and stuff like that. Yeah. But you're okay then, Matt? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good,
I'm fine.
good.
I've never been better.
How are you, Nev?
Yeah, good actually. But very busy week last week, and more of the same coming up. I've been on the tools for work, which is never a good thing.
Good heavens!
All my engineering chums hate me for it, but I'll give it a go. So,
right.
Yeah.
What? Because
now,
I reckon they don't like it for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, if you see what I mean. Because it's just like, no, you're going to do it properly today, because I have my own special OCDs.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how we go on next week. But, great to be back on the show again.
Any flying this week at all, Nev? Any sort of
no
BAS?
Flying for about a month, and I'm off to Washington DC. I think it is on the 12th of September for a few days, and then what's after? Then in October I'm off to Brazil for work as well. Nothing.
Nice knowing you. Okay,
yes, there you go.
Put together the ransom money now.
I've checked the FCO website for the travel advisories.
Okay, good.
It's not great. I have to be fair.
So, as you can probably hear in the background there, because and it's the reason why I'm frankly having a nervous breakdown so early in the show, it gives my great pleasure to welcome the legend that is Captain Al. Hello, sir.
A very good day to you, and I hope that I don't cause you too much of a headache. I mean, I can't see that I do anything wrong.
Oh, right, good.
Also, swiftly moving on. Also joining us live on location in a rather distant part of the world.
We do like on location. I mean, we did a whole air show on location last week.
She's on holiday.
It's ice cream time, everyone. Al, the ice cream bands are
Hey, I'll have a 69. No, a 99. I've always get the two confused.
Moving on quickly.
Moving on then.
Yes. Let's move on. You guys wanted to talk to me, didn't you?
I know.
That would be nice. Yeah.
So most of you will know our next guest on the show, and she's like I said, she's on holiday, but she's very, very kindly joined us this morning for the show. She's Miss Well 2017.
Quite right.
Welcome on, Dr Steph.
Well, hello, gentlemen, and hopefully my bandwidth is holding up, because I can hear everything perfectly until you ask me to talk, and then it starts breaking up, so hopefully this is coming through okay. But yes, I am on vacation. It's the last day of my vacation. I'm actually just here at the hotel waiting for my flight, which actually doesn't leave for another 5.5, 6 hours. So this was good timing.
And, makes a change.
Yeah, here in lovely Costa Rica. I've been here for the past 4 or 5 days or so, just enjoying myself. And
so now you've been doing lots and lots of training, obviously, because there's a certain marathon coming up very soon, of which I'm sure sponsorship links are already well and truly out there. But how goes the training? Are you as far ahead as you hope at this stage?
Yeah, the training's been good. I've actually done. I was supposed to do a 20-mile run today, but clearly that's not going to happen in my current location. So I'll put that off for another day. But I've done a 19-mile already. I did 13 last week. And I actually got some hill training in this week while I was here, because everything is very hilly here in Costa Rica in the mountains. So that was good.
It's safe to say, Steph, though, that we've been seeing a few pictures and that you've had some quite interesting weather where you've been with some good dismantling of local roads.
Exactly. Well, it's the rainy season here. I guess it's just rainy season and dry season. Otherwise, the temperature pretty much stays the same. And the first few days we were very lucky. There was not a whole lot of any precipitation, just sunny skies, cool, relatively cool temperatures compared to in the southern U.S. where I am currently, or most of the time. But yeah, 2 nights ago, so not last night, but the night before, we were actually out enjoying the local hot springs. And towards the end of the evening, as we were eating dinner, the skies just opened up, torrential downpours, thunder, lightning, all this stuff. And we went back, traveling on the little mountainous roads back to our hotel, and everything was fine until we were about 100 meters from the actual hotel entrance. and the small little creek that was flowing down, in the little ravine there before we left had turned into this raging river and had washed away the road, and there were trees down in the road, and you could hear the water just carrying like boulders and rocks down the side of the mountain. And we're like, well, we're not getting through there. And it's like the horrible thing is you can see just on the other side of this river, like that's the hotel. It's right there. That's where all of our stuff is. No one brought anything. We're all wearing like swimsuits. So then we were like, well, I guess we're going to have to figure out plan B. So fortunately, the tour group was pretty accommodating. They actually found us another hotel room in town. So we went out, we went to a little convenience store. We were buying like toothpaste and toothbrushes and stuff because no one had anything. And then we actually got a hotel. The rain had let up a little bit, and we got a call from the hotel saying, no, it's okay. We're getting people across now. You can come back if you want. So we're like, well, we'd rather go back to where all of our stuff is.
Yeah.
So we go back down the little 2-lane road through the mountains into the, back where the hotel is. And we get there, and it's still, a pretty decent river running across the road. But they've cleared out one little path, and they have, just a little truck that everyone's piling into the back of, carrying people back and forth across the river. So that's how we got back to the hotel.
A memorable holiday then, I think, but maybe not for the right reasons. Yeah. Indeed.
So that whole little detour was about 3 hours by the time we tried to go back to the hotel initially, and then got sent away basically, and rode around town for a little while figuring out what to do, and then actually got back into the hotel about 3 hours.
Wow.
So.
Typical UK weather.
Stop it. Moving on.
So moving on. Joining us as well from across the oceans.
Yes.
He's the executive producer on the Airplane Geeks podcast, and we've got a little intro music to play here, especially for this guest. Here we go.
LA International Airport.
Right. Okay.
Where the big jet engines roll.
That's quite country.
So welcome onto the show. It's Brian Coleman.
That is brilliant. Yeah, I had such a good aviation weekend on Friday. Went to the Flight Path Museum. Not sure if you guys can see that.
We can see that. Yeah.
The brochure for the museum. So this place is at LAX. Never knew it existed. Lived here for a really, really long time. And drove by, went into the museum. They have a really neat collection of all sorts of memorabilia about LAX and a whole bunch of airlines that have gone out of business. And they apparently have the world's largest collection of flight attendant uniforms.
Wow.
And yeah, they had thousands of uniforms that people had donated.
So cool.
And here's just this little gem of an aviation museum at LAX. And they, of course, told me about the song and had to go to YouTube and find it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, surely that is officially I'm sure somebody out there will now correct me, but I'm sure that's the only airport with its own theme song. I mean,
and rightfully so.
Right, yeah, maybe keep it that way.
Yes.
Unless anyone's done a song entitled London Southend International Airport.
Possibly. It's very near London, not?
Oh, no. London, Edinburgh.
In the same way that
Airport,
Luton is very close to London.
Oh, yeah. So it is the 6th of August. It's Sunday, and it's just coming up to 2:25 in the afternoon here in the UK. Welcome, everyone in the chat room who's joined us from literally across the globe today. We've got loads of different people from around the world.
Sorry, they're saying in the chat room here is because obviously they've got the camera on behind you. Have you got a garage sale going on behind you at the moment with these piles of leads all over you?
I don't know, but I've got a money spider.
Oh, you've got a money spider. Oh, good news. Excellent.
I'll put that on the laptop. That'll give us good luck.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, can you put it on my laptop, please? I'm the one that needs the luck.
Oh, yeah. Anyway. So welcome, everyone who's joined us in the chat room from across the globe. Hope you've all had an exciting weekend. It's Sunday. We're all back to work tomorrow. How depressing.
Yeah, right, okay.
Well, not for me, because I enjoy my job.
Now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Some of us are at work at the moment. Yeah, Steph's having a tough last day of her vacation.
Yeah, I'm back to work tomorrow too, but I haven't been at work since last Tuesday, so I'm okay.
So bad.
I'll live.
You'll cope with it. Yes.
So I suppose we better start things off, haven't we?
7 a.m. and I'm having a beer. So
yeah, that's right. We'll gloss over that and move on. Yeah. Anyway, yes.
So we are going to start the show then, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if we're all ready...
yes, I'm ready.
Everyone
I
else?
suppose so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ready?
Okay, yeah.
Let's go.
Let's just go. Let's go.
So, kicking off this week's first news story, and this one is on the telegraph.co.uk website, so it's obviously extremely posh. And this is a story that came up just this week on the Air Force One new aircraft, and the headline on here: New Air Force One planes could come from bankrupt Russian airline. So, the next generation of...
The boss has just joined us in the chat room, by the way.
Jeff, Captain Jeff.
Everyone behave. Everyone behave.
So the next generation, he'll be annoyed because we've nicked one of his hosts.
Gloss over and move on.
So the next generation of Air Force One planes could come from a bankrupt Russian airline. The US Air Force is understood to be in talks with Boeing about buying 2 Boeing 747s, which were mothballed after the Russian airline Transaero went bust in 2015. It comes months after Donald Trump bemoaned the cost of replacing Air Force One, which, contrary to popular belief, is name shared by 2 jets, one of which is used as a spare. It's understood the deal would save the US Air Force millions of dollars. A spokesperson for Boeing confirmed that it was seeking to procure 2 great value 747-8 jets for the US Air Force. The deal is focused on providing a great value for the Air Force and the best price for the taxpayer, Boeing told. And the Transaero reportedly placed an order for 4 of these 747-8 jets back in 2013, but it went bust just 2 years later. It's understood that Boeing only tested 2 of the aircraft, which have since been stored at a holding facility in the Mojave Desert. Boeing typically sells the 747-8s for around $390 million, or £297 million, but it's unclear what discount they might be willing to give on the mothballed jets. Converting the 747-8 jets fit for a president has been estimated to cost upwards of $3.2 billion, a price Donald Trump has previously described as ridiculous. That's one of the more...
Was he referring to himself there, was he? Good, right.
So the sale of the jets among airlines is common. The Telegraph recently reported on the saga of US Global Airways, previously known as Balita Airlines, which has existed for 27 years but has not yet flown a single flying passenger. It purchased a 747-200 from Pakistan International Airlines in 2009 and then brought a 747-200 from Northwest Airlines in 2011. So obviously, I mean, this is good news. We're going to be saving a few quid here and there, and obviously they need to replace the Air Force One because it's an old airframe now. I think it's based on a 200 series. I think the current Air Force One 747s.
Just goes to show how popular these Boeing 747s are, isn't it? That it's sat in the desert, brand new, for 2 years, no one wanting it in any way, shape or form. Not even Coca-Cola to make tins out of for their drinks.
Right. Okay. Well, there is that. Yeah. It's. I mean, is it really that desperately? I mean, you know, in times of austerity and things like that, do they really need to spend all this money on changing Air Force One?
I mean, it's been on the cards for a while. What do you think, Steph?
Oh, the existing one's quite old, so yeah. No, I think that it's about time to get it updated. Interestingly enough, yesterday I drove past the Palmdale Airport and saw the whole fleet of 747 sitting out there, and there must be, I don't know, 40, 50 of them.
Wow.
Had I known, I would have gotten a little closer and taken a photo for the show.
Yeah.
Didn't Air Force One suffer a bit of an embarrassing moment a few months back where it couldn't get into an airport that other aircraft were landing at?
Right. Okay.
I have no idea.
This was due to the lack of sophistication on its avionics, basically. So it couldn't. I'm trying to remember where it was now, but it was. I think it might have been Palm Springs, actually, where.
No, Captain L, it was actually because of its cargo. It had nothing to do with the aircraft.
It was more who it was carrying rather than the avionics. Yes.
Okay. No, I seem to recall that it couldn't do the RNAV approach because it just can't because of its age.
Yeah, I mean, brace yourselves, everyone. Captain Al's actually being serious for a moment. I think that's what's causing the alarm.
Actually,
I was actually okay.
Oh, go, Seth.
I was just looking up. I was trying to think how old the current Air Force One aircraft actually are, and it says first flight was May 16, 1987. So They are 747-200s.
Wow.
Yeah, the 200s. Yeah, they're a few years old. And Captain Jeff has said yes, Palm Springs. Correct.
Yeah, right, there we are.
And he's also saying that no RNAV
See,
approach
I'm much
capabilities.
ridiculed on this show, but you know.
Yes. There's no need for that, is there?
Yeah, Jeff has said that there's no RNAV approach capabilities, only VOR. So there we go.
Well, and if Jeff says it is so, that will do for me.
It certainly is, yeah.
That's the end of the matter, yes.
So moving on to the next story, and this one is obviously a special one, just for you, Matt.
Okay, yes. Story 2, which means it's one thing and one thing only, which must
This is
mean
a nice story.
it's a Ryanair story. Great news. This is on the Mail Online, therefore it must be immediately 100% true. Second, of course, only to the Daily Express. And the headline is Ryanair unveils new, slimmer... Oh, good. What did you say? I thought you said this was a nice story. You're so full of brown stuff. Ryanair unveils new, slimmer seats, which give passengers more legroom, but still don't have seat back pockets. And here's the reason why. So Ryanair has unveiled the new designs for its new seats. That's right, Carlos. Give me a story that has pictures in it. And there's some good and bad news. The good news, they offer an inch of extra legroom, 31 inches up from 30, while British Airways will be reducing theirs to 29 as of next year. The bad news, the seats won't come equipped with the pockets on their backs, meaning passengers will continue to struggle with the faff of stowing their belongings. Ryanair's new seats, which will be fitted to the Boeing 737 MAX 200, offer an extra inch of legroom. 31 up to 30, sorry, that's repeated itself there. The seats, which will be installed on the budget airline's new fleet of Boeing 737 MAX 200, will also be slimmer, meaning that the aircraft will have, here we go, an extra one, will have 197 seats rather than 189. The new planes are due
and
to
that's, I'm sorry, Matt, that's a sentence that really, really confused me.
Yeah.
How did they get more seats in simply because they made them slimmer? I think they're mixing two concepts here, and it's a bunch of brilliant reporting.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I said momentarily ago, obviously we can always rely on the Daily Mail for some quality journalism. So here we are.
Well, what they've not put in the story is that they're going to make the carpets thinner so they can accommodate taller passengers.
Excellent, brilliant idea. I like it. So there we are. Those are what the new Ryanair seats are going to look like when they go into the aircraft. I think it was the MAX 200. I think they said the 737 MAX 200. If you're watching, or sorry, not watching, if you're listening
no way
on
to put
the
your newspaper.
Sorry, what?
There's no way to put your newspaper.
No. Your lap, possibly. You know, they have got a lap tray still. You know, but yes, if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, then the picture was available on the Daily Mail website.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they look all right.
Right.
There's
good.
definitely a lack of storage space to put anything in, but that is typical of said airline.
But you don't get...
They're thin.
But you see, the thing is that I keep saying this, but these are the buses of the skies, aren't they? And there are very few buses where you have somewhere to stow stuff other than in the thingy above you. You know what thingy is, right? Everybody knows what one of those is.
What, the overhead bins?
Yeah, that's that
one of those
things.
things.
Yeah. Okay.
The thingy above you. I think that's the
The hat rack, darling, the hat rack.
The hat rack.
Hat rack, yes. Yes, indeed.
So what I actually like about these seats, unlike most seats in the U.S., or on U.S. carriers, is the bit that goes down that attaches the seat to the floor. It looks like it's not off-centered, so everyone has the same amount of space under them.
True. Yeah, it does, yeah.
Right, how many times have you been on a flight where it's been offset and one person gets screwed out of their 3 inches of foot storage area?
Yeah,
wow, didn't know they were offering those kind of services, Brian.
Okay, moving on.
The reason for that, Brian, is that there's no in-flight entertainment. There's no, seat back power. There's no, there's no boxes on the floor area.
So it's not taking up all that space.
Absolutely, it's just floor and seats. There's no extra gubbins. Good British word.
Okay, yeah.
So moving on to the next story, and Nev, especially for you, this one.
Yeah, it's the Daily Mail, of course, and no exaggeration here, of course, from them. Lightning strike after takeoff at Heathrow leaves BA Dreamliner with 46 holes. Big uppercase situation going on with the text there, but it doesn't prevent the 9-hour journey to India. And it says the British Airways plane sustained as many as 46 holes during a lightning strike, but despite the damage, the carrier continued its 9-hour journey. A bit like that 747 from, was it LAX or San Fran, back to Heathrow with only 3 engines, wasn't it? And it says that on arrival, that the extent of the damage to the 787-8 Dreamliner was discovered. The plane was then grounded, unable to make its return journey to London the following day as tests were conducted and repairs made, whilst passengers were booked on to alternative flights. And 5 days later, the aircraft returned to Heathrow without passengers on board to have further tests, the Telegraph reported. It was another 24 hours before it returned to service. Our highly qualified engineers inspected and repaired some minor damage caused by a lightning strike before the aircraft safely returned to service, said a spokesman for British Airways. The safety and security of our customers and crew is always our priority. The aircraft is now fully repaired, deemed fit for use, and in active service once more. And it says that lightning strikes on aircraft are surprisingly common. Planes are hit by lightning more frequently than you might expect, explains pilot Patrick Smith in his book Cockpit Confidential, which I'm sure we've all read at one stage or another. And it says that an individual jetliner is struck about once every 2 years on average and are designed accordingly. Well, it's very interesting that as usual, there's sort of been massive amount of exaggeration. I'm sure there may have been 46 holes, but I don't think they were of significant, problem to give the aircraft a real problem by the sounds of things. But
and this is the one thing that I love about the Daily Mail. I'm the first to admit here that I don't know a great deal about aircraft. I am the first to admit this, and the file photo that they have supplied of the aeroplane, and now I want to say that that's not the right aircraft.
Oh, it is.
It is the right aircraft.
Yeah, they've done.
That is the right aircraft.
Yeah, that's a Dreamliner. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought I had an upstairs.
And
I
it's
do
a Dash 8.
apologise.
That's a Dash 8 as well, which is right. Yeah, it's not got the stretch
that's taken all
just
my fun out of
some
it.
fantastic Photoshop work by somebody on that, though. I don't think that's an original photo somehow. Do you?
No, the Shutterstock one below. Yeah.
Yes.
That is a truly spectacular photo.
Yes, indeed. It's.
I'm just surprised someone actually had the time to sit there and count exactly how many holes were actually in the aircraft.
That's someone's job to do that. They all have to be documented. Now, one interesting thing about this, of course, is that this was a 787, which is made out of plastic, isn't it?
Right.
More or less.
But that little bubble gum, put it back in service, not a problem.
Yeah. So compared to a conventional airliner, which would be largely made out of aluminium or aluminum, depending on which side of the Atlantic you sit.
Right.
One of the areas that will come under close investigation for a lightning strike on a 787 is because it's the unknown damage underneath the surface. So they'd have to do fairly extensive testing using things like ultrasound to see what damage the lightning strike had actually done, because the structural integrity of carbon fibre is completely different to aluminium, and you can't just sort of tap it out and whatever. So that would be why it had the extended downtime for what is a relatively common and inconsequential event.
But this just proves exactly how hardcore the Boeing Dreamliner is. Look, it can be struck by lightning and have holes blown in it, and it can still get to its destination with no problems.
Here we go. Right.
Might I just add, if we remember back into the times of the Second World War with the B-17.
Oh, blimey, we're not playing.
With the B-17,
Right.
which was also built by Boeing, and this aircraft could be full of holes and still get back to its base.
Anything you'd like to add to that at all, Captain Al?
Well, it does prove a point.
Well, I mean, let's go back to, wood and string. I mean, all you need is a bit of glue and she'll be right as rain, won't she?
There is that. Okay, who's taking the next story then as we move on?
Who wants to take the next story? Who should we give this one to?
I think this one would be fun if Captain Al read.
Yeah, Captain Al.
Right, so just for the avoidance of doubt, then, this is one that comes from the Radio Times.
That is correct,
yes.
yes. And I'm queuing up the video to play for you, so you carry on.
Right, the trailer for ITV's EasyJet Inside the Cockpit will make you never want to fly again, reads the headline. There are plenty of professions where you can learn on the job, but if we were to think that of one industry where this probably isn't the best idea, it's being a pilot. Well, new ITV series EasyJet Inside the Cockpit reveals that actually there are over 300 first-time EasyJet pilots learning on the job. On the job has different connotations depending on where you grew up.
Moving on. God.
With the young pilots saying that the biggest threat to the plane is me, and that they actually haven't done a takeoff yet. Nervous, fly away now. One rookie pilot even tells the story of how he faced some rather baffled looks when he went through security, and they saw on his passport that he was born in 1996. Eek. Well, probably not as scary as if he'd been born in 1896 and was flying them.
There is that, yes. Okay.
There are probably flight socks in the cabin that are older than him. Possibly.
That's terribly offensive.
I really don't quite see the relevance to that last line, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, is that a British term, or did I miss out on something in that story?
I don't think they're going to let. I don't think you just let the people just hop in. Have a go, have a fly here. Hop in.
They might.
I think they had some kind of training before they got let loose onto the flight deck of an A320.
You never know. So, as a little
kind of training, yes.
Okay, so as a little treat, because it is a trailer, that means I can actually play it. So here you are. This is the trailer for the new ITV. I know, what a treat! For the new ITV trailer, the series Inside the Cockpit from EasyJet.
Any threats you can think of? Me? I haven't actually done a takeoff yet. Oh, sorry.
Go away, bird.
Can't avoid the birds. They'll avoid you.
With over 300 first-time EasyJet pilots learning on the job.
I've got a good feeling about this one. I'm going to crack it on this next one.
It's going to be a bumpy summer.
I went through security and they were like, oh my god, your date of birth. Yeah, 96.
EasyJet, Inside the Cockpit, this summer on ITV.
A few interesting words there from the crew on that. I mean, that'd be interesting to see, I suppose. It's a program about aviation on ITV, so at least ITV are finally having some decent programming on their channel for a change.
Yes, I've just realised why that didn't work properly, because Carlos forgot to put the network cable in for me from that. I always have a network cable here.
It's Carlos's fault.
Yeah, it always is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on to the next story, and
well, just before we move on,
come on
what's
then.
the general consensus? Because obviously I'm expanding this out so we don't have to do the military thing later.
Well, you're going to talk about flight socks and
probably.
No. So going around the table, as it were, how do we feel about pilots learning on the job?
Well, as someone who did a lot of learning on the job in my own profession, which is not piloting per se, but I think in any profession there's a fair amount of learning on the job that goes on, and I think if it's done correctly and if it's quality over, just hours and hours and hours without any quality behind it, quality over quantity, then I think that's fine. And I think there's always, we've had this discussion before. There's always going to be folks out there who are going to be able to jump in, be professional, learn what they need to learn, do the job safely and correctly, get the on-the-job experience they need. And then there's going to be folks that no matter how many hours of quality instruction you give them are not ever going to be at that same level. So, that's why you have the procedures that are in place, especially in that type of environment in the airlines, standard operating procedures, crew resource management, all of that type of stuff. So you make it as safe as you possibly can with the circumstances.
I personally don't have a problem about people literally learning on the job, because they're not going to be thrown in, in charge, like they're not going to be the one in charge of the aircraft, and surely, I don't know. I mean, the bottom line is that the trailer paints our industry in a slightly poor light. These are all qualified pilots. They all have a frozen airline transport pilot's license. Yeah. They're not just people that have been picked off the street. Yeah. It's not like Celebrity Big Brother or, Desert Island or whatever the latest, sort of popular program is. These are qualified pilots who are learning their trade, and they will do for many years before, making the transition into the captain seat. It's a skill that requires an awful lot of individual aspects to it that you can only learn through experience. Agreed.
So how do you gain experience? In Steph's profession, you don't become a leading surgeon on day one. You have to practice those skills. Some people will be better than others, inevitably, but the only way to gain the experience is to learn. So, that's how it goes. And they're supervised in exactly the same ways.
I'm sorry. The only exception that I take to that is, so it's the guy's first time flying the plane. He's never landed it. The captain becomes incapacitated. Now you have a true rookie flyer landing a plane with a whole bunch of live bodies in the back. Okay. And now the chances of that happening are very, very slim. However, I'd really want someone to have landed the plane at least once before.
Okay, well, to put your mind at rest, you're in... Well, yes.
My mind's already at rest.
He arrived like that.
No, to put your mind at rest, it may well be the first time that these first officers will have performed a takeoff and landing on the real aeroplane as opposed to a simulator. But what the trailer isn't portraying is, and you will probably discover it during the series, that there is a qualified pilot sat behind them who is the safety pilot. So in the event that the training captain were to expire or to become incapacitated, there is someone who would then take over, rather than the rookie pilot, a qualified pilot who is capable of landing the aeroplane because he will have done so several thousand times previously.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, presumably they, as you say, they're not people fresh off the street, are they? They will have done all the training that's required to reach them to this point. So, I mean, is there usually basically 3 people in the cockpit? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so during the early parts of training, there will be a safety pilot who will be sat on the 3rd seat, and they will already be qualified on that type. And they will usually be there for between 10 and 20 sectors until the pilot under training, for want of putting it a better way, is able to demonstrate that in the event of an incapacitation of the captain, they would be able to land the aeroplane.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, they could always just press the auto land button, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, according to Frick in the chat room, he's just said that.
Okay, I'm good again. I'm going to fly.
So. Okay, I'm pleased to hear that. I'll send you the bill in the post.
I reckon also that on the job training and this sort of stuff, you do get a lot out of it as well. And certainly in the business that I work in, and the reason that it's done is because there's a general shortage of qualified people. So we get people to a certain standard, and then we use on the job training under proper supervision after that. And actually, certainly I found that way back when I was 16, 17 years old, when I was learning to become an engineer. I think that was a really good practical thing. I made some massive mistakes as well, but I learned from them. I then made them again 20 years later. But, you know, we all do that possibly. But I think it is a good way to really hone your skills, especially learning from highly experienced people that are working with you and supervising you.
And certainly one of the things, I can only use coaching as an example, but actually one of the really scary things is you go out, you do your coach test, you pass your coach test, and that's it. You go out and take all these people out with you. There's no sort of somebody sitting with you necessarily sort of overseeing to make sure that you go out on a quick test drive, but other than that, I mean, things handle very differently when you've got, it's certainly in my case, 55 people sat behind you.
Okay, but to keep on that story, would I be right in thinking that some of the more established or professional coach operators, who are conducting sort of continental journeys, would have an experienced driver on the continent with a less experienced driver, so that they can learn some of the intricacies of, say, maybe driving around Paris or driving on foreign motorways? Would that be quite a common occurrence?
Yes, absolutely. That's perfectly normal to do that. And I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to do a trip like that on my own for the very first time. But I was sort of thinking, just using school runs as an example. I mean, I do remember sort of going out the first time, looking in that rear view mirror when I got all those kids on board, and thought, this is a very different kettle of fish altogether.
Mariana's made a
sort of learning
a point in the chat room though, Matt. Your coach, not that you drive your coach now, but your coach won't fall out of the air.
There is that, yes. But
it will fall off the side of a cliff.
It will fall off, yeah, absolutely. Exactly. I could do some serious damage.
And then it will become an Airbus.
And then it will... Oh, dear.
Right. That was just too good, that was. The talent's wasted.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Get yourself on Britain's Got Talent.
Indeed.
I want to know if EasyJet approved that trailer. Like, that's just...
Probably not.
Just work on the basis that all publicity is good publicity.
All publicity is good publicity.
Regardless
no such thing
of
as bad
what
press.
it is. Yeah, absolutely. Regardless of what it might contain. Anyway, we probably should move on now. Al's done a very good job of probably doing away with the military section. So, yes, on we go.
So going back to the opening title.
So, anyway, moving swiftly on, Captain Al. The next story will be taken by the lovely Dr. Steph.
All right. So this is the one on the BBC?
It's right, yes.
Oh, good old auntie.
Right.
You can rely on
From
auntie.
the BBC.com.
Yeah.
EU airport delays warning issued by airlines. So, Ryanair are warning British holidaymakers of delays at EU border controls. And this is on August 4th, so just the other day. BA has sent text alerts asking travelers to arrive early as it expects longer queues due to, quote, enhanced immigration checks across Europe. The airline has already sent texts to customers flying back from Lyon, Madrid, Barcelona, and Milan. Ryanair is also advising customers to arrive at least 3 hours before their departure time. EasyJet is urging people to check its website for updates and allow plenty of time to get through the airport. The airline has also warned of strike action due at Barcelona Airport every Friday, Sunday, and Monday from August 4th throughout the summer. A spokesman for Airlines for Europe, the airline lobby group, told the BBC, it seems the governments, especially in France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Belgium, underestimated the situation of many passengers going through tighter passport checks and have not provided a sufficient amount of border control officers. He said passengers should expect delays at airports in Mallorca, Malaga, Lisbon, Lyon, Brussels, Milan, and Paris-Orly. Passenger Kate Meeks says she was one of 22 people who missed her flight from Barcelona. Arrived 3 hours early at Barcelona Airport with strike action among security staff, but was only told about the extra passport control half an hour before takeoff. Little did we know that we had to go through an extra passport control where there were 1,000 people trying to get 4 flights at the same time. Ms. Meeks said 2 men due to take the Birmingham flight tried to get to the front of the queue but were told to join the back or be removed from the airport. It was absolutely horrendous. 22 of us begged to go on that plane, and they said that they couldn't let us on, but it took them half an hour to get our luggage off. Right. She said she spent £500 on booking a hotel room for the night, missing a day's work, adding that staff at passport control were rude and very abusive. This has caused an absolute nightmare for all of us through missed flight connections, financial cost, and mental cost, she said. The warning comes as airports prepare for one of the busiest weekends of the summer. Sean Tipton from the Association of British Travel Agents said a record 2.4 million people had already set off in one weekend at the beginning of the school holidays. He said, in most cases, people are getting through passport control fairly swiftly, but I think there might be an issue with certain airports where they haven't actually considered just dealing with the fact that record numbers, August, plus these new requirements, they may be understaffed. It goes on for quite a bit. Well,
But we get the general gist there.
Yeah. It's a difficult story, and I know certainly from speaking to Owen during the week, Stansted is really under pressure. I mean, I think numbers that I was looking at on another news wire, I think this was on Sky News, and they reckon there was something ridiculous like 15,000 people going through Stansted a day at the moment, just because of the time of year and everybody trying to go away. I mean, it's frightening, really, and it's just it's especially as using Stansted as an example. I mean, this is basically one of our major border controls, and the issues I understand are actually to do with border controls. It's really it's quite frightening, really.
And what have we got coming up at the end of this month?
A bank holiday.
Bank holiday.
Oh, goody.
Oh.
That'll go well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how does everybody else feel about to this? I mean, do we have a serious problem here in the UK when it comes to sort of border controls and stuff? I know. Some are mentioning that some of this is to do perhaps with that horrible word that I use carefully, Brexit. I mean, is it something we've just got to get used to, or I mean, what's the solution other than spending lots of money?
Well, as you might imagine, I have an opinion on this.
Oh, good. Oh, I was hoping for one.
And moving on to
stop it. Yeah,
it's quite convenient to blame Brexit, actually, but there are a multitude of reasons for all of this. If we look at the problems that passengers are experiencing in Spain, Portugal, and France, both going into the country and coming out, Well, one reason for this is that looking at the habits of British travel makers, holiday makers, there has been a huge change in direction as to where people are going on their holidays this summer. There's been a big move from the Eastern Mediterranean resorts, such as Turkey and further afield out to Egypt, because, of course, there's some political difficulties out in that part of the world. So there's been far greater volume of bookings towards Spain, France, Portugal, in preference to Turkey and Egypt. The airlines have responded to that by putting a massive amount of flights into the Mediterranean, the Western Mediterranean, far more than there are hotel rooms. So the volume of passengers going through the likes of, say, Palma de Mallorca, Barcelona, Faro is far greater than it has been in previous years. And then additionally, as a result of Brexit, there has been some increased security or immigration because the UK is not a signatory of the Schengen Agreement. But it's really just the increase in volume of passengers. Overall, more people are travelling this year than have done in previous years. Fundamentally, we're all going down a narrow funnel to the same places, and then there's additional security. So it is very much a case of kind of like, if you like, the perfect storm. And there are many airports that are just being swamped.
And then strike action on top of it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the strikes for our sort of more worldwide listeners, strikes in Europe are very common. There isn't a year that goes by without French air traffic control going on strike, or some group of workers within Spain or Portugal going on strike, whether it be the meteorological officers or whether it be the baggage loaders, air traffic control. There's always someone on strike. It's just the nature of the beast. And it certainly makes matters worse. But it's all too convenient, really, just to blame it on one thing. It's three separate entities, as I see it. And yes, there have been lots of instances. I mean, I arrived, can't remember where it was, but one of the Spanish airports a few weeks back, and they said, we're just going to have to delay disembarkation because the arrival hall is full. That's it. There's no more space. There's nowhere for anybody to stand. So I think they delayed disembarkation for an hour. Well, that is really a function of just putting too many people in the same place.
Yeah. One of the other things that that's sort of been hitting the news, certainly here in the UK, is tighter border controls all of a sudden, and that was certainly where the word Brexit was mentioned, in the fact that rather than perhaps being a little bit more blasé, all of a sudden they're being very, very I don't know whether it's perhaps because there's a new advice or something where people are concerned about security, but certainly European airports are being very, very picky and studying the UK passports. It may not just be UK. I'm just obviously going by what I saw on Sky News. I
think there's an overall increase in vigilance at borders, regardless of where people's flight originated. I think there may have been one or two small instances of where, because of Brexit, British passport holders were subject to a little bit more scrutiny. Yeah. But I think overall it's just a desire within the whole of Europe and, of course, in the Western world to, have a heightened degree of scrutiny with regards to where people are coming from and the integrity of their documents.
Mm. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, having just done a international flight for holiday between the U.S. and Central America on Wednesday this past week, I had zero problems. I was through security, and this is kind of a testament to the Charlotte Douglas Airport because it's always quick there. I've never had a significant holdup in security there. They're pretty efficient. They move people through pretty quickly. I think they still do a good job of, maintaining their vigilance and doing a good job of security checks. But I was through security in less than 5 minutes. And then I think it was kind of just lucky on our part. We arrived here in Costa Rica and there was no one in the queue for immigration and customs. So we were through that in no time at all. So it was a very pleasant experience. So we'll see how it is going going today. It might be a completely different story.
Because you do a lot of flying, obviously, in the EU, Nev. So I'm guessing you kind of have a fairly easy and swift experience going through passport control and all the other bits and pieces.
Can you see steam coming out of my ears by any chance? What the hell has it got to do with Brexit?
Well,
seriously?
I know.
I mean, when it's just, I think, as Al said, there are a lot of other factors here, especially as you set out, with regard to people going less and less to Egypt and Turkey, and more to the southern and western Mediterranean parts, and there is limited capacity on this sort of thing. Certainly, in recent times, I've not seen any serious delay due to additional border controls, and I just think it might have been a bit of a quiet news day somewhere, because I've not seen any significant change in the main European region at all. That's not to say that there wouldn't be, and there's obviously different kinds of passenger profiling going on according to where people are flying in from. But I have noticed that I'm getting asked more and more where I have just flown from when I get to the passport desk. That's question number one usually.
And when I went to Pittsburgh, of course, I'm very new to this whole flying thing. So to get that question there, and it was just like, where you come from, and I just went, oh, the UK, thinking that would be, oh, that's fine. And he just looked at me as if to say, it was just like, oh, good. And then, of course, my passport wouldn't work on the reader first time round, so I got another I was getting a bit nervous. Now, I do feel we need to ask this question to the man who probably does more flying than anyone else in the entire world. Now, obviously, presumably you've been doing reasonable amounts of flying, even I don't know, is it classed as holiday season still in the States here? Because I know the only reason it's so busy here, basically, is because we're now in the school summer holidays. And so everybody is sort of flitting to and from various European destinations or even further afield. Are you in? What's it like when it's sort of like peak holiday season in the States, as far as you're concerned, Brian?
Yeah, fortunately, I have TSA pre, so that cuts down a lot of the riffraff that
you have to handle.
Has to deal with.
Fine. Yes, no, fair point.
Yeah, so the thing that drives me crazy about U.S. security, and I've said it numerous times on the show, is probably half the time I break one of the rules and I get through, so I don't actually feel safer, which is really unfortunate. And they're little things, but like having a half-drunk bottle of water with me. My most recent pet peeve is having the TSA, the pre-check line available, but them not having all the lanes open, and all the staff seems to be someplace else. So that will add a bit of a delay. But I've really had no issues getting through security, so that's been quite nice. Yeah, I had 5 minutes at the most is the terrible delay I have in checking in.
Pre-check here in the United States is fantastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Anyone doesn't have it.
Maybe that's
how do you guys in the United States
Steph,
find
it's actually terrible. No, you can't because if you say that it's really good, people will sign up, and then it'll make it much longer.
Yeah, it's reporting. Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
No
how do you guys in the US find immigration as opposed to security? Do you encounter large queues at immigration?
Not with global entry.
Global entry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, Steph, a terrible program. No one should get global entry.
Okay.
$100 for 5 years? No,
it's a terrible program.
No.
See, I noticed in the United Kingdom now that for non-UK and EU passport holders, the UK has a fast-track process for passport holders, certainly at Manchester and Heathrow, where you can pay an additional fee on arrival in the UK and be fast-tracked through immigration. How do we feel about that?
I would pay it 100%. If I'm getting through the line faster, yes.
Yeah, with my Irish passport, how do I sign up for it? Although I haven't had much of an issue. So I just show, I leave the U.S. on my U.S. passport, arrive in Europe on my EU passport, and it's fine. I haven't had an issue.
That's cheating. That's blatant cheating.
That's called working the system.
Well, that's true. That is true. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we should probably move on to our next story.
I'm sure we can eke this out a bit more.
No. You've done a good job. Yeah, we already don't have time for military, so well done.
So, Brian, did you want to take a story or?
I can, but someone might have to explain to me who the heck is ABS CBN News, because I've never heard of them before.
Right. We'll leave that to the man that chose the stories.
Well, that's who the story's from.
Good luck.
So, struggling Singapore Airlines offers crew unpaid leave. just what you want to hear is not pay your employees.
Yeah, always the way forward.
Okay, enough of the editorial on my part. So Singapore Airlines said Friday it was offering cabin crew unpaid leave and a cost-cutting
I can tell you actually, the ABS-CBN News Corporation is Philippines' leading media and entertainment organization.
Oh, there you go.
That's put everyone's mind at rest. Good, lovely.
Yeah, at least it's coming from the right part of the world.
Do we want to know more about ABS-CBN? Because I can tell you more about it. I've got their corporate website up here.
Splendid.
I can tell you about their
You really
leadership.
don't want to do the military news, do you?
I can talk to you about vision and mission and values. There's some nice black and white pictures here. Hey, Nev, you should have a look at this. There's a nice control desk here. And
Oh, look at that. Fascinating.
Okay, anyway, moving on.
Right,
Thank you, Brian.
So, the city-state's flag carrier has been battling strong competition from Asian low-cost carriers and Middle Eastern airlines, which now boast modern fleets and top-quality in-flight services. Owen, looks like you have some competition here.
Yeah.
The airline, which posted net loss for the fourth quarter of the last fiscal year, has launched a wide-ranging review and refused to rule out job cuts. The company said it offered its cabin crews the option of taking unpaid leave between September and November this year due to, in quotes, temporary surplus of crew.
Right.
Yeah,
that's an accountancy term if ever I heard one.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
One of the issues that I have with a story like this is there's so many other people besides cabin crew that an airline can offer a reduction of hours or cut in pay, and even though it's symbolic, it adds so little to the bottom line, is the pay of the executives. And these companies never seem to offer a cut in pay to the executives. And I think from a morale standpoint, these people can probably afford it the most, and they never seem to do it. And the frontline workers are the ones that really take it on the chin, and that's what I find really irritating about things like this when they come up.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
that's it. I'm done reading the story.
That's fair enough. I don't blame you. It's it's a bit of a funny one, really. As you say, it's very much an accounting story, isn't it? It's just like we're going to we're going to come up with new words to describe justifiable reasons why we aren't paying our crew any kind of holiday leave.
I mean, the executives always turn around and say that because of the performance, we're not receiving our bonus. But what they neglect to mention is what their basic salary is in the first instance, and it will be significantly more than the cabin crew for sure.
Yeah, indeed.
I thought Singapore Airlines are doing really well, but obviously not. They're struggling, but you know,
I don't know.
I think they've gone off the boil a little bit in recent years, but I think basically they were out on their own for many years in their sort of passenger service, but the other airlines have come up to them and have taken over, and I think they've really struggled in sort of matching up to the competition when it comes to service on board.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're living on the glory of yesteryear. I've flown them a few times over the past 3-4 years, and their level of service I don't think is up to their reputation.
Right.
So it's unfortunate to see. Now, don't get me wrong; they're still really good. They're just not nearly as good as they used to be, and/or I think the perceived reputation that they have today.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
So moving on to the next story, and this one...
Just before we move on...
This next story is on the... interference coming in from you there, Al.
Okay.
Is on the LA Times. There we go, the LA Times. The Los Angeles Times. And American Airlines will now alert you if your bag gets lost. That's very handy. So airline passengers often...
You're never getting your stuff back.
Yeah.
They have special emoticons for it, do they? Just a bag in tatters.
Yeah.
Airline passengers often must wait at the baggage carousel until every suitcase has been picked up before realising that their bags didn't land with them. Now, Fort Worth-based American Airlines is giving travellers a digital alert if their bags don't arrive at the same destination at the same time.
What do you think the message is? Is the message something along the lines of, I'm afraid you're going to have to buy some crappy shorts from the airport gift shop?
So So backing up a second, I've actually gotten this message from Delta Airlines before. You get an email. And it says something like, your baggage did not travel as intended.
Oh.
Or something like that.
Okay. Right.
Try to put it in various... And you're going, no, my bag's not here.
Yeah.
So
Your bags are
Your
currently
bag is on a nicer holiday than you are
belt
right
crashed.
now.
Your bags are currently on board a Cessna Caravan being thrown out by the. So the Fort Worth-based American
Do they include a
Airlines.
little postcard from your bag saying
They
it's
do.
enjoying itself?
Wish you were here. That sort of thing.
yes.
Yeah.
Wish you were here. Wish you were here.
So the alert that comes through your contact information provided by the flyers during booking or the check-in process. Loyalty reward members at American Airlines can also get notices through the airline's app. The alert tells travellers if their luggage has arrived early or will arrive later. If
No, I'm struggling to see how it can arrive earlier than you.
If the luggage is arriving late, the alert informs a traveller
Did
to
it
head
travel
to
by
baggage
DeLorean?
service. Oh God, Al, this is terrible.
Gotta love the flux capacitor now, haven't you? Every home should have one.
So American
capacitor, that's easy for you to say.
Apparently so. Even with a mouthful of burger. Sorry, I'm eating my dinner. Don't mind me.
So American Airlines system relies on barcodes.
Glad to see that you're taking the show serious.
Right, cut
Always.
That's printed on each bag to keep track of the bags. The barcodes are scanned at several points on the loading and transportation process. Lost luggage rates have been the decline in the US over the last few years because of heavy investments by carriers in new technology. Delta Airlines, for example, has installed a luggage tracking system at the major domestic airport served by the Atlanta-based carrier. It relies on radio frequency identification tags, or RID tags. Yeah, we've seen those, haven't we?
RFID.
I tell you what would be really good is if they can tell you which items have been stolen from your suitcase before you get it. So that you can just go on
I will say
Amazon and have
though-
them delivered to the hotel.
Or they could just not lose your bag.
I will say though,
Go on, Steph.
I have been really impressed with Delta's RFID system because, it's funny. They'll send you a text message, or the app will send you a text when after you're off the plane and you're waiting for your baggage. It says, your bag is on the carousel. So then you can just walk up and sure enough, the next thing you know, your bag is there. So you don't have to be waiting and watching every single bag that comes off of the baggage carousel.
Yeah.
But maybe
It's
see, the thing is maybe they could invest the money in making sure that the bags don't go missing in the first place.
Well, they are investing heavily trying to stop this.
I don't know. I love my technology, but it just seems like a bit of a pointless gimmick, personally. But there we are. I'm being controversial.
I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, and although I solved the problem by never checking my bag.
Well, yes,
that is solution number one. Do not check your bag.
Yeah.
So.
But then you've got the risk
and I
of
think
leaving
that's
your
part of-
bag on the aircraft, don't you? If you check in your bag, someone else takes the responsibility for your possessions, and that way then you don't end up leaving a bag or a laptop
Brian.
on the aeroplane.
You might leave.
No, it's only the computer. I had the bag with me. It was only the computer I left behind.
Yeah, but you see, if you were flying with Ryanair, which I know you will never ever do, I'm quite sure. But if you did ever fly with Ryanair, the great news is you won't now in future have anywhere to put your laptop in the front pocket because it won't be there.
Yeah, there's no front pockets.
Front pockets.
No, that didn't help me anyway because I put it between the wall and the seat. That's really what my
you put your laptop
downfall
there?
is. Yeah, I had to get it out of the way, get up, use the restroom, and there it sat for quite
several
some time.
months. Yes,
yeah. Okay, see, this is the reason why I said I never work on airplanes.
Right.
And if I don't take my computer out of the bag, therefore it will be with me when I leave the airplane. So working on an airplane is a bad idea. Use the in-flight entertainment system, open the window shade, and look out the window.
Very true.
Well, that is true.
There we go.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. And enjoy the fact that you're in the air.
And I tell you what, you can't get an app for that.
You can't get an app for that. There's no view like it, is there?
And Captain Al, there really is a good reason why your bag can arrive before you do. So between Los Angeles and San Francisco, there's just about hourly flights. If you get to the airport 3 hours ahead of time, they will put your bag on an earlier flight. Now
that raises an interesting question, isn't it?
No, the bags matching with the passengers, absolutely. I'm completely opposed to that, but they do that a lot. So yeah, your bag's sitting in San Francisco. Well, you're still in Los Angeles.
Right. Okay.
So moving swiftly on, the next story is yours, Matt, if you'd like to read this one.
Dear, yes, okay, this is on the NBC.
Just before we move on, do I hold the record for the person who has the bag lost for the longest period of time before the airline would actually admit that it was missing, never to be seen again?
Now you might know the answer to because the whole Pip thing where he had one missing for a significant period of time. Does that beat? Because didn't he have one lost for like several weeks?
I think it was a few weeks, yeah. Pip had
I think Al is saying his never came back.
Oh, yeah. I see. Yeah.
Emirates
just gone.
Emirates officially conceded to the fact that they would never be able to return my bag to me after 2 years.
Oh, wow. Good heavens.
You win.
Emirates did. So
until the 23rd month, they were still as confident as they were 2 hours after I arrived that it would be located.
Right. Is there loads of people walking around Dubai now, then, Al, in string vests?
Why is that? What was in
well,
his head?
Apparently it never left Johannesburg, but we'll skip through that. And no, it took them. Well, it was only eventually after 23 months did they confess that they weren't able to
might have actually misplaced it.
So refer back to rule number 1: never check a bag. Good.
Well, there is that, yeah. Yes. Sometimes, yeah, but you see, Al has much paraphernalia that has to go with him. You know. I mean,
I'm sure Brian would equally despair of people trying to get 32 kilos or whatever that is, 75 pounds of luggage into the hat rack or under the seat in front of him. So there are occasions when it is necessary to.
As long as they could lift it themselves. Why the heck are you bringing that much stuff with you?
Yeah, what are you doing with 75
They have laundromats around the world.
You can borrow towels. It's fine.
Do you when you travel BA now? Do you tend to check luggage? I suppose you're a carry-on guy.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if I'm going more than a couple of days, I normally check a bag. But honestly, I've never had a problem. I think out of all the flights I've taken, I've only had a bag delay twice, probably in 30 years, roughly. So that's not too bad.
Cool. Now you've said that, of course, bear in mind that your next flight now, you'll probably never find it again.
I can't wait to go to Washington, Dallas, but I'll probably lose my bag.
You'll get one of those texts, Dev. You'll get a text saying your bag is late, but your Nikon camera is now on eBay. Here's the link.
Absolutely. Here's the link if you wish to buy it back.
Well, the really smart app will show you the person who's using your Nikon camera.
There is that. Yes. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to move on now, regardless of what's going on here. This is the NBC.
Just before we move on,
Boeing aircraft creates outline of plane during 18-hour test flight. Oh, goody, Boeing. Pilots on a Boeing aircraft spent their test flight drawing a giant outline of the Dreamliner plane they were flying. Oh, dear Lord. The test flight lasted 18 hours, and the shape of the 787-8 plane spanned across 22 states, according to Flight Radar 24. Now, actually, one of our listeners sent us this link during the week, wasn't it? I think while it was going on, and the air traffic tracking service invited people to track the plane's journey live on its Twitter page. The purpose of the extended operations test was to see if the Rolls-Royce engine could safely run for an extended period of time. And I always like the idea of them carrying out such a test over a heavily populated area. If there is any...
No, this was the Midwest. It's not that heavily populated.
Right. Okay. Boeing said...
Yeah, I think that's the reason why they chose all the flyover states. Yeah.
Right, okay, yes.
It's like Kansas and Oklahoma and... Iowa.
Nevertheless, there are some people that live there. Yeah,
they're not important people. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Right. Boeing said in the emailed statement that the nose of the aircraft pointed at the Puget Sound region, which is the home of Boeing commercial airplanes. The wings were drawn over northern Michigan, the Canadian border, and southern Texas, while the tail touched Alabama. The plane travelled a total of almost 10,000 miles, according to Flight Radar 24. But while the flight pattern is certainly impressive, it was not spontaneous. A test flight is not a random event in which pilots just choose to fly any path they want for any length of time, said former corporate pilot and adjunct flight instructor Anthony Roman. Boeing's test pilots are all engineers, and they have very specific protocols to follow, according to Roman. He said that the multiple computers and other engineers would have been constantly monitoring the flight. Roman called the act a stunt and said that it is likely the idea to mimic the shape of the Dreamliner originated from Boeing's marketing and public relations department. There's a shock. This isn't the first time Boeing has gained social media attention with its unique flight patterns. Flight Radar 24 reported pilots aboard a plane in February spelled out the word MAX for their testing of the 737 MAX. I mean, the story goes on, but you get the idea.
The picture. The picture Matt's got on the story here but they've done a really good job, because it's quite well done, I think.
It is, yeah. In fact, actually,
it is very well done. The only thing I'd say is the pilots must have got really, really peed off with every few minutes turning down direct routings from air traffic control, which would have destroyed their picture for them.
Yeah, indeed. So if you're watching on YouTube, there you are. You can see the picture.
The 787 is being able to do those right angles, though. Right? They are some sharp turns that they were able to do.
I mean,
true.
It's probably because it's zoomed out quite a long way. I mean, they may not be, if you actually zoomed right in, they may not be as severely, right-angled as they look.
Some of them
burst my bubble.
Oh, sorry. I mean, it is basically showing you a very large part of the USA in that photograph. So, I mean, can you do that kind of mileage in one fuel tank?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Oh, very much so, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
so anyway, Captain Al, nenext time you're in the air, maybe you could draw something that you're a little bit more familiar with. Yeah.
No.
I just can't imagine what it would be.
I got a rough idea.
The penis and testicles.
Right, there we go. See, that's where I was afraid you were going to go.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a box of chicken nuggets.
Right. Oh, yes. Now, you see,
There you go. Actually,
Brian is thinking along the family lines. Children, that's what we like.
He's keeping it safe.
Mark Harvey says that I should spell out Plain Talking UK, PT UK.
That's well done, Mark. Well done. On brand.
I've just got to make sure that if I do that in my aeroplane, that I get the P and the T right. Otherwise, I could get arrested.
Splendid. Moving on.
Anyway, moving on to the next story. And this story is for you, Nev.
Oh, it's in electronicsweekly.com, and it's all about the new Boeing avionics unit, which marks a reversal in its strategy of outsourcing avionics development and aftermarket services to companies such as Honeywell International and Rockwell Collins. It'll focus on navigation, flight controls, information systems, and other technology, with the aim of bringing products to market in the next 10 years. The Chicago-based company told employees in an internal announcement on Monday. The memo from Boeing CEO Dennis Muhlenberg told staff, "Our new avionics organization continues our strategy to build targeted vertical capability so that we can further drive down costs and value up for our customers in all phases of a product's life cycle. It is understood that the new business unit will grow to a workforce of about 600 from 2019 from the current 120. And Boeing currently produces some avionics equipment, including vehicle management systems, secure computing systems, and signal intelligence for its commercial and government divisions. However, it has relied heavily on outsourcing in recent years, notably the global supply network that designed and built much of the 787 Dreamliner. In a related move, Boeing has also founded Boeing Global Services, which is a new division to take on higher margin maintenance and spare parts sales. And they do actually show a picture of a 787. So they have actually got the right aircraft with the right story.
You know what it is, obviously, Nev? They were listening to your interview with Richard Westcott last week, and obviously they're now very much they're watching out for these things now.
He has set the standard. Absolutely.
He has very much so. Yes.
And the next tweet from Donald Trump will be that he created those jobs.
Okay, right. Yes. Okay, politics, everyone. Be afraid. Indeed. Somebody please rescue us. Who's next? Quick, someone.
Steph?
I don't know. Who's next?
Steph?
I can do the one from The Guardian.
All right, then.
Oh, go on then.
Go on then.
Right. 2 international Qantas flights returned to Sydney Airport after technical issues.
Ah, yes.
Right. This is top headline news, this from The Guardian, isn't it? This must be another quiet news day. Dallas-bound flight Airbus QF7 returned to Australia after a problem with wing flaps. whilst the QF63 Johannesburg flight turned back due to a crack in a window. So this is The Guardian. This is a UK newspaper reporting on 2 Australian events. Okay?
Yes.
It's a non-story. It's a non-story. I'm afraid aeroplanes do have minor technical problems. They sometimes return back to their airport of origin. Whoopee-doo. Let's not get excited about it, folks.
Hey, I'm just upset that they dumped all that fuel.
Yeah, well, yes, terrible waste.
Yeah.
And these were also, it was also 2 A380s.
Yeah,
remember that?
I mean, to be fair, I actually heard about it through Ray Davis. Now, he's got a reasonable excuse to be interested in that story because obviously he does live there.
Because he's
so
in Sydney.
yeah, absolutely. So he's got a good reason to sort of like or be aware of this story. But yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, obviously you've scanned through the news story, Al. It's just a perfectly routine event, essentially, is it?
It's 2 absolute non-stories that are occupying valuable bandwidth in a world that is short of web space, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
I mean, why on earth should, a normal event be reported the other side of the world with any great, kudos? It's an absolute nonsense. It's just the media turning every event in aviation into a story. Was anybody hurt? No. Was anybody killed? No. So what's the situation? The flight crews did what they, should do, which was they assessed the situation, decided the safest course of events was to return back, get the problem resolved, and get everybody on their way. What we do?
Okay, Captain. Now let's spin this story. It talks about the 3 layers of glass that were cracked. How many layers of glass are there in the cockpit windscreen?
Honest answer, Brian, I don't know. I think there are about 5 or 6.
Yeah, wow.
I think where Al is going with this though is more of the fact that it's a non-story. If you see what I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
Something went wrong, and you're
but
right.
Do you know the actual news channel? The news channel that covered this, they had a chopper in the air, and this was like broadcast live. The whole story of this aircraft, QF7, coming back into Sydney from Dallas, and they covered. They had this live broadcast.
You see this goes back to what I was saying before. It's like I may be being a little bit controversial when they said, but obviously the Shoreham air crash that was hideous. There's no two ways about that. That was a really, really bad event. But since that event, the media especially is now obsessed with anything to do with air shows and little minor hiccups here and there. I mean, for example, when we were at Duxford, it wasn't a Mustang. What was it? It was a Mustang, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a P-51 Mustang.
Yeah, that ditched perfectly safely in the field. It basically, something was not right, so the pilot did exactly the right thing. He put it down in a safe area, and it was basically, as again, really, other than the fact that it didn't land where it was supposed to, it was a non-story. But on the news wires, I mean, you got Sky News push notifications, you got BBC News push notifications. I do wonder if it's now that because this one major event happened, every time something like this happens now, the media just pounce on it like lunatics, and it's the same with this. It's like, oh no, there's an aircraft in trouble, we must follow every single step of it, and I don't think it helps anyone.
It doesn't help anybody at all, regardless of whether you're a nervous flyer or not. I mean, the Daily Mail in the UK is terrible for doing this, and it seems now that even the slightly more grown-up newspapers like The Guardian are getting on the act in writing stories about things that are actually normal events. I think this week the Daily Mail ran 3 online stories about aircraft in European airspace, squawking 7700, the code for Mayday, and they wrote, the reason is unknown. Well, why are you telling people something that is actually not a news story? You need to establish the facts before publishing it. Quite often, the reason for the Mayday will be a sick passenger who requires medical help, and air traffic control will ask you to squawk 7700 so that they can, expedite your arrival to wherever you need to go. Yeah. This isn't, a function of the airline or the aeroplane or the crew or anything else. The fact that a passenger may have had a heart attack is not headline news across the world until you put them on an aeroplane, and it's just getting out of hand. This obsessive focus on aviation for stories is ultimately going to cause problems for aviation.
It is, agreed.
But the true tragedy in this story is that air traffic control didn't have them spell out Airbus as they were flying around dumping the fuel.
That is true. That is very true. It's and of course, and I know we go back to Nev's pet hate here as saying, and if you missed last week's show, there's a great interview in there which we did from Old Buckingham Air Show with Richard Westcott, and of course you touched quite regularly on bad media reporting of these things, and not, this is the thing, it's that they're so bad, so they report this non-event but then also give inaccurate information.
I think the other thing is about that is that, just talking to Richard when I went to interview him, he did say that actually he's under a great deal of pressure from the news editorial team to get a story out there. And Richard has said on many occasions, do you know what? I'm just going to sit on my hands because I haven't actually got a story to tell at this point. I haven't got the facts, and so the pressure is on the journos, not just from the written and press media, but from the broadcasters as well. But how often have we seen these push notifications come back later on with correction in uppercase? When the facts have changed, and I think that this, as Al said, it's damaging to the business of aviation, and what on earth the Guardian are doing reporting stuff for a QF aircraft 14,000 miles away on completely normal operations, it would appear, is beyond me as well. So the journalists, the more responsible ones, certainly have a problem, but there's also the written media who just want to get a story out there at any cost.
I think because of the media being able to utilize the internet, there's now not that time gap between getting the initial story and pushing it out, the old sort of equivalent of stop press on the printed media. Now there's this just desire to get the story out there first, regardless as to whether there's any factual evidence to the story. It just seems to be a race to the bottom, really, in the media. And I'm absolutely appalled at The Guardian for joining in on this. Yeah. I mean, I've traditionally held The Guardian in reasonably high esteem in their reporting, but they just seem to be joining in that let's get the story out there, let's not worry too much about the facts or the nature of it.
So much of it now, especially in the printed media, is actually more about selling newspapers. It's not so much quality journalism anymore. Again, I suppose they're in a similar boat where they're under a great deal of pressure from their editors in the fact that they need to write a story that's going to sell newspapers, and for some reason the media at the moment think that terrifying the living daylights out of people like me, who are nervous flyers, that these stories are going to be of interest to everyone. I don't like it. I don't like it.
But the main thing is,
Harvey just put in the chat room, breaking news: an aircraft lands after a crew have done their job properly.
No.
I mean, if this is allowed to sort of carry on, if you like, and I'm not suggesting that the media be censored, there will come a point where crews will base their decisions on the media exposure of the decision that they make, and that is entirely wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you noticed as well that so much of the reporting that you see normally in the written press rather than the broadcasters, that they state what they believe to be a fact, and then comma, if true.
Yes.
I mean, well, they shouldn't be reporting it in the first place if they haven't got the facts, and there should be no room for ambiguity about that.
Agreed. It's a subject that we're going to come back to again and again, I have no doubt. But thanks for your comments, guys, on that.
So, Dr. Steph, do you want to take the penultimate story?
Sure. Sorry, I was just distracted by, I think that was a 737 going by. But anyway, penultimate story from the New York Times. Airbus deliveries remain hampered by engine delays. So Airbus has delivered 47 aircraft in July to reach the halfway point in its target for the year, but its narrow-body A320neo family continues to feel the disruption from delays in getting the latest generation of engines from their manufacturers. The European plane maker said on Friday it had delivered 9 of the upgraded medium-haul jetliners in July, bringing total A320neo family deliveries so far this year to 68, just a third of the full-year target of 200 for that model. Airbus said last week its earnings had been hit by delays in receiving engines for the aircraft type and increased pressure on engine supplier Pratt & Whitney, a unit of United Technologies that has been hampered by a series of glitches. Total Airbus airplane deliveries between January and July reached 353 aircraft, propelled by brisk deliveries of the earlier A320 model, Airbus said in a monthly data release. That compares with a full-year target of around 700. Evidence of the A320neo engine disruption could be seen on Friday in clusters of undelivered jets jammed into tight spaces around the perimeter of the Toulouse aerodrome. The maker has some 24 aircraft roads painted in delivery of their airline customers, but yet to receive their engines, or in some cases, wingtip extensions. The majority of the jets are destined for airlines that have selected Pratt & Whitney's new geared turbofan engine, but a handful are also waiting for engines from CFM International, co-owned by Electric and Safran. Reuters' tally of jets parked without engines included 6 built for India, 4 for Go Air, a Pratt & Whitney customer, and 2 for CFM customer Air India. India said on Thursday Pratt & Whitney had promised a solution by September. Others with yet unpowered jets included Mexico's Volaris. Asked to comment on the number of undelivered jets, an Airbus spokesman said it had delivered many more than at the same point last year, when A320neo output was in early stages, but it had expected to be more advanced by mid-2017. We still target full-year A320neo deliveries to be around 200, but in view of the engine issues, this target becomes more challenging. Airbus introduced a caveat into its 2017 forecast last week, saying its target of more than 700 jetliner deliveries depended on its engine suppliers. Airbus, meanwhile, said on Friday it had sold 4 aircraft in July, typically a quiet month in odd-numbered years, coming after the Paris Air Show, to reach 252 for the year. That total fell to 205 after cancellations, leaving Airbus behind U.S. rival Boeing in this year's order race. Boeing has posted 446 orders through July 25th, or 386 when adjusted for cancellations. Why they put the numbers in there differently, like either you have them or you don't.
you have a number, you don't.
July's orders included 1 Airbus A350-1000, -1000, a large twin-engine jet due for first delivery by the end of this year. Yeah.
So Brian, obviously over at the Geeks, obviously you've got Max, and obviously Max is the engine guy for your show. I mean, do we know what the issue is here with these Pratt engines?
No, I'm going to have to defer to Max on that. So, yeah, don't know. And one of the things that they didn't report in this story is this actually creating a shortage of the engine counterweights. So
well, they have to hang under the wings when the engine's not on.
Oh, so, yeah, because you need to keep it balanced. And, so...
Funny. Wow. Yeah, it's an odd story, as you say. It's What the delays are. Yeah.
Are the Airbuses that you fly, Al? I'm guessing they're all they're Pratt powered.
No, absolutely not. The 320s have CFM engines, and the 321s have IAE engines.
Okay. So we're going to move on to the last story then, and it's a bit of what I like to refer to as an "and finally" story.
Yeah,
so
it's a
I
nice
wonder,
story.
Brian, if I could trouble you to take that one for us.
Oh no, this one will make me cry.
Okay, it's all right. You and me both.
Yeah, so from the Daily Mail. And actually, is the Daily Mail a fine quality paper?
But we'll gloss over that. It's a nice story. So
it's a nice story.
So we'll ignore that and move on. But but it is
it's a kind of middle of the road newspaper. It tries to be grown up, but it doesn't really cut the mustard on that, and doesn't do itself any good service really by being quite sort of twisted in certain areas on its viewpoints.
Politically, I think
yes,
he says. But nevertheless, this is a feel-good story.
Yeah. It was the best moment of his life. Boy, 7, with a heart defect, is granted his wish of learning to become a pilot. So, yeah, you can tell where this story is going. It's going to be a tearjerker. So, a 7-year-old boy realized his ambition of becoming a pilot in what his mother described as the best moment of his life. William Kotos? Sure, we'll go with that. From Chicago, who suffers from a congenital heart defect, fulfilled his dream of attending flight school after invitation by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And if people aren't familiar with Make-A-Wish Foundation, they do absolutely wonderful work in granting wishes to terminally ill children.
Yeah.
So much for the editorial there. The global charity arranged for the Aviation fanatic to spend 3 days with American Airlines, who offered both formal training and flying experience. One of the captains, Captain Pommersheim, this is the reason why I don't read news, personally spearheaded the adventure, which began with William being surprised at his home. His mother, Kathy, remarked, "He's been through so much, and this was probably the best moment of his life." That was kind of redundant. From there, he and his family were flown on a Boeing 787 Dreamliner to the American Airlines headquarters in Dallas. Upon arrival, he was presented with a tailor-made American Airlines pilot's uniform, not a costume, but a genuine outfit customized to William. I hope so. At 7 years old, I think he might be a tad bit smaller than other pilots flying for American, which included hat, bag, and of course the all-important aviator sunglasses, before undergoing the same training as a genuine pilot at their corporate offices. Blah, blah, blah goes on. He had a great, wonderful time, and American, I think, did an outstanding job of spending 3 days with this kid.
Yeah, it's such a lovely thing for them to do, really. It's
absolutely. I mean, they could have easily just done, a couple of hours and ticked the, we've had our, corporate responsibility box and we've done the right thing. To go to this length really speaks a lot for American.
Yeah.
But now William's qualified to go fly at EasyJet.
Right. Okay, possibly. Yeah, we'll glaze over that and pretend that never happened.
It's a nice story.
It is. It's a lovely
things
story.
like these kind of stories, I think, are hugely important. Because it's just it is for young people, especially. To try and encourage more. Yeah.
Well, in this case, I don't think it's encouraging. It's more just to give them an experience
nice.
Well, and obviously, I mean, it's very sad, obviously, because of the reasons why this lovely little kid is getting this treatment. But I mean, also, it's something that the family will remember like forever, and that's, I think, what's so lovely about this story. So well done to American for doing that. So we're going to move on now. Nev, it's time to bring on a passenger experience. So if I could perhaps trouble you to update everyone as to what they're about to listen to.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of my industry colleagues, a guy called Frank Emerson, and Frank runs his own digital signage company, so he produces the content and also the hardware that you see at airports, shopping malls, retail sectors, and all sorts of things like that. This is from June, and we had a good chat about the state of the aviation industry from the passenger experience point of view, and obviously Frank, being the sort of chap he is, which will become obvious as we play the interview, wasn't terribly impressed.
Hello everyone, it's Nev here again with another in the series of my passenger experiences. I hope you've enjoyed the ones that I've recorded so far. This is another interview that I recorded whilst I was with my industry colleagues in Santorini in June of this year, and you can even hear the authentic sound of the clock tower in the background during this piece. This week I'm speaking with Frank Emerson, and his company is responsible for a lot of the digital signage that you see in various UK airports, so he knows a lot about these places. I began by asking him whether he thought that the airport experience for passengers was improving.
I think it's getting absolutely dreadful. I think it's one of the low points of any trip is having to travel through the airport, and it sort of starts pretty much immediately with finding somewhere to park the car, and it all kind of goes downhill from there, really. The recent automation of passenger check-in, I can understand why it's being implemented, but it's not really what you want when you're in a stressful environment. Airports are a stressful environment, and I think having to deal with automated check-in, not having people there that you can rely on to give you sort of help and guidance and a smile, and it just really adds to the whole sort of stress of having to travel on an aeroplane. I think when people went on holiday years ago, part of the excitement was going to the airport. It's just completely changed, and that's really, a lot of it is down to, I guess, increased numbers of people, the affordability of air travel. But as it's become bigger, and people are trying to put more to the bottom line, the airlines are trying to make more money and introducing cost savings like automatic check-in, like having to pay for food on the aircraft unless you're prepared to pay the the increased fare to go club or first class, which the majority of people are not able to do and not prepared to do, then the whole thing is you can't get it over quickly enough. You know, sitting on the, once you're on the aircraft, there's not enough room. If you're travelling in economy, you've had it really. If you're a tall person, you've got your knees scrunched up against the seat in front of you, and then you've got the kids sort of kicking you behind, and you know, it's the job really of the staff on the aircraft to try and improve that journey and do it by just sort of making sure that people behave in a sensible fashion. If there are children there that are a bit out of control, they should be coming along and telling the parents to, you know, put them in order. So I think a lot of it is down to the staff that's employed by the airlines. To be honest, they don't really care. They're not that interested. You're pushed for time. You find the check-in desk, and then there's a queue. And then you look at the check-in desks, and there's probably 10 check-in desks and 3 check-in clerks. I mean, it's just hopeless.
And actually, you hit upon the point very nicely there, Frank, because the problem starts before you even get on the plane, and in some cases, particularly Manchester and Gatwick, I know, all these outlets that are selling booze at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. So people could be a little bit out of control even before they start.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think it's a problem when you're dealing with big quantities of people, large crowds of people. It's difficult to manage, difficult to police. I mean, I travelled from a small airport earlier this year, London City Airport, and I have to say it was an absolute pleasure. I mean, they've got it right. It's a small airport catering for small numbers of people, and it's easy. The long-term car park is walking distance to the terminal, but there is a bigger emphasis on good catering, so you can get a nice snack and a coffee, and it's a relaxed atmosphere, and the walk to the gate is very short, and it's just much nicer.
So we're talking about a situation here where the airline experience, the passenger experience is going downhill a bit. Where's it going to go from here?
It's going to get worse, isn't it? Because there's going to be more people travelling. They can't decide where they're going to put this extra runway, whether it's going to be built at Gatwick or Heathrow or wherever. The increased volumes of aircraft is it's a big issue, big problem. I think one potential way of solving it is to put more high-speed links in between the airports and London, the major city hubs and Manchester and places like that, so that you get more flexibility in being able to get to somewhere like Stansted, improve Luton Airport, and spread the load out. I think building these massive airports, it's too big.
Also, as you said earlier, for people like you and I that travel, fairly frequently, we know what the score is. We know what we're doing there. But what about the people that just travel once every couple of years for their holiday? It must be a nightmare for them.
Absolute nightmare. And very interesting, actually. We did a job up at Manchester Airport. We put some screens in up there, and you actually got people, elderly people, who were coming the day before their flight to check out the airport to see where they had to go, where they had to queue. And they were coming along at 10 o'clock at night and then going home and coming back to the airport the following day at 10 o'clock to check in, because they were so nervous about the thing. I mean, it is a frightening prospect for a lot of people. You and I are probably able to cope with it because it's something we do on a regular basis. But for a lot of people that are going away, every year even, it's very, very stressful. Making sure you're at the airport on time. And if you're travelling somewhere like Heathrow and you're going around the M25, forget it. You've got to stay the night before almost. You just cannot predict whether or not you're going to get to the airport on time. So literally the minute you step out of your front door and get in your car, it starts. And what you want is to get somewhere where it's a relaxed environment, people there to help you and smile at you, and perhaps if they invested a bit more in customer relations, it would, or customer relations courses, it might help. Particularly through the scanners and and the security element.
I was just thinking about the hotel that we're staying at here at the resort. The airlines could take a leaf out of these guys' books. I mean, because these guys are all about hospitality and all the rest of it. And actually, you know, if you have a nice experience here, you'll come back.
No, absolutely right. I think it's you know, the quality of the staff at some of these airports at the check-in desks is just dreadful, absolutely dreadful, and it's all jobs worth. You know, sorry, you can't carry that. That's overweight, or you can't put that on, or we've got to check that in as hand baggage, or in the hold. All these rules and regulations, I understand the need for them, but the way they kind of deal with you is just wrong.
The answer is no. Now, what's the question?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a service industry, and they should be providing a service, and they're not.
Couldn't agree with you more there, Frank. Well, thanks ever so much for talking to us today. Really appreciate it.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Find this and other great shows at the Aviation Media Network.
TheVoicesInYourHead.com.
The Plain Talking UK podcast is a voluntary project that aims to keep you informed with the latest aviation-related stories from newswires across the globe.
Producing our content does cost money though. If you enjoy our show, why not help us keep on the air by making a donation towards the server and website hosting fees through PayPal. Any contributions would be greatly appreciated.
Are you an Amazon user? If so, why not do your shopping through the link on our website? There's no cost to yourself, and Amazon pay us a small referral fee on qualifying purchases.
To find out more about the show and to meet the team, take yourself to our website www.plaintalkinguk.com,
or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/plaintalkinguk, on Twitter via @plaintalkinguk, or get in touch via email on podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. Thanks for listening.
Flybe 5823, Trent Dane for 23-hour Manchester, Wizz Air 6X, climb flight level 210, direct to Bretlands Park. United 123, maintain 280 knots. London 2TME, turn right onto Bravo, link, 21 join Alpha, hold at Mora, Speedbird 472, LOC/DME, approach runway 27 left, follow the green stand 544.
That's enough air traffic control for today, Nat. Bedtime.
Aviation media has long been the domain of the newspapers and magazines.
Well, not anymore. I'm Steve Vischer.
And I'm Grant McCarran, and we're bringing aviation right into your radio.
Yes, we're making aviation cool and interesting for everyone.
Hang on, aviation's always been cool. Check this out.
How cool is this?
Grant, turn that down. Here at Plane Crazy Down Under, we've got pilots, engineers, air traffic controllers, industry leaders, even politicians dropping by to talk to us about the amazing world of aviation right here in Australia and occasionally in New Zealand as well.
Wow, that's cooler than I thought, mate.
Find us at planecrazydownunder.com, on iTunes, or lurking about on other people's podcasts just like this one.
We've got crazy accents and lots of great aviation content.
And we promise not to talk about the cricket.
No, never. Not the cricket. Quack, 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 quack. What is cricket anyhow?
Something we win a lot. Oh, there we go.
Excellent work as always, Nev.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Yeah.
I tell you.
Anybody got anything to add to the points he raised in said interview? I mean, is there is our standards really getting that bad? I think is the question I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, right, good.
That's from a United point of view.
I think it's
actually,
fair to say so,
Brian,
yes.
Brian and Frank ought to get together. Actually, that we've a very, very miserable afternoon indeed.
As long as there's beer, we can make it all okay.
Well, that's true. Everything's all right with beer, isn't it? I mean, I'm obviously going to talk to our pilot here. I mean, do you feel that yeah, nice try. Do you feel that standards have slipped a bit, really, as far as sort of like the passenger experience is concerned, Al?
There's two elements to this. We, in the last, 50 years or so, have made aviation available to just about everybody at all budgets. What we haven't done is we've not done a very good job at policing people's behaviour and expectations, and there has become in aviation almost a sort of drive to the bottom, really. Yeah. We're starting to see some changes, but the bottom line is the bottom line, and that's what people are really interested in. There is a group of people who are prepared to pay the premium to have some degree of comfort / luxury, but we have created in some ways a lowering of standards by default. And if we were going to fill up shopping centres with the numerous bars and cheap booze facilities that airports seem to have, then take people up in a shopping centre to 36,000 feet, cabin altitude of 8,000 feet, and then ply them with more alcohol and see how they behave, it'll become as no great surprise that many passengers choose to badly behave on aeroplanes. Now, we have to look at that and decide how we want to progress, whether we want to, bring aviation, back up to something that people aspire to want to do as an experience. We've had to go through the whole rigors of security since, September the 11th, but airports in the main have been relatively slow at adapting to what is now a routine event of security. There are some airports better than others, but we still haven't designed many airports to deal with what has to take place. And I think we have to make the passenger experience at airports much, much better. Otherwise, we run the risk of alienating our customers, really.
I mean, there's two ways that I look at this. I mean, I think from my point of view, I understand why people like British Air. I mean, you see, I suppose I fit into the bracket that you're describing, really, Alan. The fact that aviation, as perhaps we knew it 20 years ago, was not something that I, on a minimum wage job, could ever afford to do. And, with people like EasyJet and Ryanair coming along, it means that aviation, if you like, is now available to those with very limited budgets. But I certainly...
Which is a good thing.
It's a very much a good thing. I agree completely. But I'm perhaps because I'm, a little bit older, or whatever, I don't know, but stop it. But it's the whole... I couldn't imagine behaving like some passengers are quite well known to do, if you like. I mean, that's just not in me to behave
Absolutely.
like that. But, because you have to respect the people. You've got to respect the cabin crew, and you've got to respect the pilots and who are doing a very, very difficult job in very difficult circumstances. There's no two ways about that.
Absolutely. No, if I remember rightly, you used to work in the pub trade.
I did, yes, absolutely, yeah.
So you will know that in the town or city or wherever where you run a licensed premise, that there will be certain bars or pubs that just don't care about the level of clientele that they have. They just want to serve as much cheap booze as they can, and then will be quite happy for other people, the police or whatever, to pick up the pieces afterwards. And in some ways, that's what aviation has to deal with, in that, it's great that we've made it accessible to people on all budgets, but we also have to encourage, cajole, and if necessary, police people as to how to behave.
Captain Al, I think that you're right in that it's their business model to go after that end of the market and support it the way they do. The problem that I have is when you have legacy airlines or other airlines that present themselves as providing a superior product, join in the race to the bottom. And they're the ones that are not keeping the standard high for the industry and or that segment. It's totally fine having an ultra low cost carrier providing a bare bones product, and that's exactly what you're buying.
I think, and of course, British Airways are, I feel, perhaps guilty of doing exactly what you say. Is that they're lowering their products. I mean, I know people that would use British Airways because you expected, as a result of who you were flying with, to receive a certain level of standard, and I fear, certainly from some of the interviews Nev's done previously as well, that doesn't seem to be that people who were expecting that kind of service are not getting that kind of service anymore. I mean, you almost expect it with the likes of Jet2 and EasyJet and Ryanair and that, but as you say, I mean, people always used to look to say, and I'm using British Airways because it's the one that rolls off the tongue. You expected a certain type of standard, and they are adjusting their. I mean, Nev will correct me, I'm sure, if I'm speaking out of turn, but I do feel that you know, they are joining that race to the bottom, as you put it, Brian. I mean, it's a funny one. Nev,
I think the thing that you might have noticed that there's been some negative comments in the passenger experience segment over the last few weeks, but of course we always have to balance that with some positive things as well. And next week's interview is fantastic because I'm interviewing Brian Coleman.
Are you?
No.
Okay.
So it's going to be all kinds of positivity.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be much love. There's going to be much love.
What I'm waiting for, Nev, is where you interview Alex Cruz.
Yeah, well, I've put in a request, but
you have.
It's been a bit quiet so far.
Yeah.
No. Well, that's a shame. So, it's a funny one, really. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, do you think the airlines and the airports have got to get together a bit, maybe glue everything together a bit better? Is that going to be the answer?
I don't know. What I was going to say is,
go on, Steph. Sorry.
Go on, Steph.
I think I'm missing out on all of this bad behavior stuff that everyone else seems to be experiencing, because I can think of maybe 1 or 2 flights where something hasn't gone quite right, but it's usually not anything to do with poor passenger behavior, poor customer service. It's usually something out of the control of anyone, whether it's mechanical problems, weather-related problems. But even then, it's been handled reasonably well, where people don't get upset or frustrated. And I know there's all these news stories. We always talk about the news stories of bad behavior, poor customer service, race to the bottom. But personally, I don't see a lot of it. So I'm not sure, if that's just me and I'm unique, or I look at the world through rose-colored lenses, which might be part of it. I drink enough alcohol that I'm maybe the person who's the problem, and so I don't see that.
Maybe that's why you don't see it. Yes.
Oh no, Dr. Steph, a perfect example is last week I had to fly up to San Francisco, and I was fortunate enough to get upgraded, and I was very happy to be there and enjoy the comfortable seat. And because it's such a short flight, they serve a beverage, and then they come around with a basket of snacks. And they did the service, and there was still, 20, 30 minutes left in the flight. And I asked for to see the bag of snacks again, and they said no, they only serve once. So that's sort of the race to the bottom. I mean, here you are in first class, and I'm asking for a 15-cent bag of chips, and they're saying no. That's the race to the bottom, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interestingly, for your flight, Brian, was that I'm assuming that this was with United?
It was. Yep.
Was it United mainline, or was it one of their franchise?
Yeah, no, it was mainline. I really try and avoid the regional carriers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Richard Williamson, who welcome to the chat room. It's the first time we've seen you. Welcome. And he says, hello all. I do believe that people shouldn't get into an aircraft when they're inebriated, but ground staff regularly let them get to the aircraft, and then it's very much out of their hands, which is a good point. Also, Captain Jeff suggesting that you might be a very angry drunk, Steph. This is very distressing.
You may have seen that a time or two.
Sure. Absolutely.
And then I never remember the next day. Yeah,
right.
That's why I was thinking maybe
always willing to put on the boxing gloves.
Actually, you know that airline we talk about on the show a lot, Jet2, that have the interesting clientele. Guess who's flying with them today to Benidorm? Our T-shirt wearing chap.
Oh, what, Mr. Caton?
Mr. Caton,
oh,
yeah.
No.
He's off to Benidorm with Jet2 today. So
right, okay. Well, we look forward to
hopefully he's got there.
Yeah, hopefully we look forward to an update when he gets back. Owen's actually just saying, I find there are too many people that are quite rude and disrespectful. However, there are relatively few incidents where people are difficult. I don't know whether that's maybe just because of cabin crew being so good at sort of pacifying or dealing with it. Maybe.
I get upset and really annoyed. If I don't get a flight deck visit, right there on the ground, I do get upset.
Yeah, Michael Mikolos is saying actually EasyJet, you get what you pay for.
As an interest, in the United States, who is the lowest of the low-cost carriers when it comes to fares and service? Is that Spirit by chance?
Spirit,
Frontier, Allegiant.
Yeah, Frontier.
Yeah, probably the three of them.
Yeah. Okay, and what would be their sort of, cheapest fare that you could reasonably expect to buy?
I've seen fares going from California to Florida for $59 each way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But and then they get you with all the add-ons. Okay. If you want your seat, if you want your bags if you're carrying any bags, checked or otherwise.
Oxygen.
If you want any food, if you forget to print your boarding pass before you show up at the airport.
Right.
The fees make the ticket every bit as expensive as a mainline carrier.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's all about how things are marketed, really. But what I was trying to see is to try to judge where you have, in the United States, it is not uncommon to drive great distances to go on vacation or to go and visit someone. There's that whole concept. I mean, I can't think of many people who would undertake a 6 or a 7 hour car journey in the UK. They would just look at alternatives, whether it be the train or plane or whatever. Whereas I know that in the United States, people are quite happy to drive from, I don't know, Alaska to Florida and think nothing of it.
Well, 6 hours is nothing, 8 hours is nothing, 12-hour drives sometimes are nothing. People do that all the time.
So there is a culture of people who would simply drive. And I actually think that in some ways, flying in the United States is more expensive than flying in Europe. And I think, therefore, that
the base fares usually are.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not counting all the add-ons and luggage and printing your boarding pass and picking a seat, the base fares are you can't find $20 fares anywhere.
Yeah,
it just doesn't.
So there have been quite a few news stories in the UK recently of people who have been wanting to go from one city in the UK to another, bearing in mind that the UK is incredibly small compared to the United States, and have found it cheaper to fly to Spain and then back to the UK in the same day than it is to actually go by car or by train.
Well, there is that.
Yes.
So we do have,
well, and
very,
you have to keep in mind,
low levels of
regular gasoline
fares.
Regular gasoline here for cars is exceptionally cheap too.
Yeah.
So people don't really think about filling up their tank and driving across the state.
Hey, speak for your own state. It's still expensive here in California.
I think the last time I purchased gas, $1.89 a gallon. So
wow.
But you're not allowed to sniff gas in California, are you? You've got those special devices at the petrol station to stop you actually sniffing the stuff as you put it in. So
okay, right.
So,
okay.
Moving swiftly on.
What my point is that generally speaking, there's a whole raft of society who are able to access aviation in Europe who have not previously done so, and I don't think it's necessarily the same in the United States. And a lot of our airports in the UK serve vast amounts of quantities of alcohol to passengers before they do get on the airplane, and I forget who it was in the chat room who raised that. And yes, it's absolutely correct that certainly in the UK, cabin crew are very, very good at dealing with passengers and de-escalating situations. The question is, should they have to do it in the first place?
Well, that's true. And there seems to be an issue perhaps between ground staff and the cabin crew themselves. Here, Richard Williamson is saying ground staff even, he's witnessed ground staff even allowing a passenger to get on the aircraft with their own bottle of wine and then started giving the cabin crew hassle when they said that they couldn't drink it. And that's the thing. Maybe we need to tighten all that up. Anyway, we could go on and on about this forever and ever, but I think it's time to move on. And I'm going to move on very briefly with something because obviously it is. We're recording it Sunday, the 6th of August, and it is actually
way early
somebody's
in the morning still.
Yeah, well, indeed, yes. But it is actually
you've not sniffed any gas,
right? But it is actually somebody's birthday, and he is a big friend of the show. That's the lovely Micah. It is actually his birthday today. He's not in the chat room, but we thought we would just wish him a little happy birthday.
Yes.
Nice one, Carlos. Oh, right, there we go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Micah. Happy birthday to you.
That was terrible. I'm so sorry.
I did expect better out of you two because you are both very good singers. But
yeah, I know. I can't really hear the backing track in my earpiece.
We should have really got Dr Steph to sing out because everyone knows.
That's true. Everybody wishes for
apart
such.
from being Miss World 2017, she's also X Factor winner.
Of course,
as well.
Absolutely. So it's
performance like that, gents. You could go and launch the Super Bowl next year.
Right. Yes. And so we're going to wish the lovely
happy birthday, Micah.
Happy birthday, and we hope there are many, 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 many more Bless you. So it's time now to play out our last interview today. I think we've got, is it one more?
Two more to
come from Riyadh. So although we don't have a military section, because Al's done a very good job of making sure that isn't the case.
I'm really disappointed. I was looking forward to the military. Don't tell me you're going to scrub the military.
Yes. Yeah, Captain Al's middle name is also Pinocchio.
Actually, Al will like this particular interview, because this interview is with the flight commander of in the Royal Air Force, who is the Airbus A330 MRTT, the multi-role tanker transport pilot. And this is Kyle Thomas, and he very kindly invited me and my father on board the aircraft. So here it is. Nice. So back again here at the Royal International Air Tattoo RAF Fairford, and we've been very lucky indeed to come on board the MRTT, the A330. It's based on the multi-role tanker transport aircraft, and I'm here with Kyle Thomas. Kyle, thanks for allowing us to be on board the aircraft.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on board. It's always nice to do these sort of interviews and give guys at the other end of the podcast the idea of what's going on with the aircraft and what we're up to around the world.
Now, Carl, we've covered some stories recently about this aircraft and the role it plays and stuff in basic what the news tells you and stuff. But tell us a bit more about the role this aircraft plays and what it basically does.
Yeah, so we have various roles actually. We're quite busy with the setup. We have 2 squadrons, 101 and 10 squadron, both doing the same things. We fly as mixed crews. So the sort of primary role that we do is air-to-air refuelling. That's our main thrust from the aircraft. So supporting UK and coalition assets, whether on training exercises in UK airspace or on operations worldwide. We have an aircraft permanently down in the Falklands, protecting our territories down there with the Typhoons. We have a UK QRA capability, so that we're on call 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. If we launch a Typhoon, then we will launch with them to give them fuel so they can stay on station and intercept whatever aircraft may be deemed a threat to the UK. Outside of that, we've got our air transport role, so we have several routes around the world that we routinely fly as a schedule, moving troops and equipment back and forth between those places, and of course ad hoc tasking that comes up all the time to different and sometimes nice locations in the world, other times more austere. And of course now we have an aircraft fitted out with the E-cabin, which is our UK state aircraft, which I'm lucky enough to be involved with, which is a really interesting extra role that we've picked up.
Tell us a bit more about that. What's that involved?
Yeah, with the bits that I can say about it, obviously we've got a list of people who are eligible to use that jet from the royal family, the Prime Minister, and some senior officials, and we will take them to meetings such as the G7 and the G20 summits that you may have seen on the news recently, and we're contracted to do X amount of time a year, and we work for them in that role to get them there on time and be on standby for them should they need to come back at a moment's notice.
So I'm guessing the cabin interior in that particular aircraft's slightly different to the one we're in now.
It is. So you may have seen some things in the press about that. They're fairly accurate. We have a conference area, a business class section with fully flat beds, and a section like you're standing in here, which is a premium economy legroom, but an economy seat, which we have down the back for support crew and for other passengers, journalists, and things like that. We offer a VVIP service, so all our cabin crew are trained for that. The ones that are selected to a higher standard, offering silver service and that sort of thing on the aircraft. And our pilots especially handpicked for their flying ability, for smooth and accurate flying, I suppose, if you want to put it like that. The way we taxi the aircraft and all that sort of thing is all done to a different standard maybe than you would expect from a normal line guide perhaps. And we also operate a mission manager on the aircraft who will be a pilot who liaises with the principal staff, ground crew and things like that to make the mission run smoothly and keep the pressure off the flight deck so they can concentrate on the sort of important timing aspects of those routes.
So quite a few of our regular contributors to the show are Airbus pilots. Most of them fly the 321s, 320s and 340s as well. And one of the guys also has flown the 330. How much different? Obviously we're standing in this aircraft now. It's geared up just as a passenger aircraft is inside. How much different is this aircraft, to the passenger variant itself?
Yeah, so the actual airframe is based on an A330-200. The flight dynamics and characteristics underneath are exactly the same as the airliner. So it has the same protections, the same flight control laws, and indeed the flight deck is pretty much the same. We have some additional fuel pumps and things like that for our air-to-air refueling. And we have a different comm suite and a bit of military kit on board. But the actual underlying flight characteristics are the same. And then we have an additional control law, which Airbus pilots will be familiar with, which is tanker law. And that's something we put the aircraft into when we are air-to-air refueling, and that's just to make the aircraft perform better for the jets outside and to give us some protections on speeds and things for the minimum speeds for the hoses and things like that. But other than that, it flies the same. The pods on the wings, which you will see outside where we have our wing hoses, they have a restriction on Cat 3B auto lands at the moment, but that's something we're seeking to get for a clearance to be able to use that. But other than that, the aircraft is capable of doing it, it's just a clearance. So there's no real difference on the actual flying side than anyone who's flown one of the Airbus types would be used to.
So this aircraft itself, is this a fairly new aircraft?
Yeah, so they've been in service now with us for about fully operational about 5 years. So they're all new frames. The last of the frames was delivered in September 16, so not that long ago. 334 that we're on at the moment was one of the earlier ones, so this is about 5 years old. Yeah.
So the aircraft that kind of came before this, one of my favourites being the TriStar, the L1011 TriStar. Obviously they've since been retired for tank and transport roles and stuff. This aircraft itself, do you think this is a really good proven bit of kit for the job it does? Does it do the job well?
Yeah, so I didn't fly the TriStar before, so I can't comment on how that performed with regards to the TriStar, but certainly for the job we're doing now, we're making a 98.5% serviceability rate, which is unheard of for most military airframes, and certainly a lot better than the L1011 and VC10 were achieving at the end of their service. We're carrying up to 111 tons of fuel on board, so we don't have any extra tanks. We can still take people and trail jets with all of the kit that's required to do that to distant places. So I mean, it's absolutely fantastic for the job. I mean, it's unbelievable really, the capability of the aircraft. It is a step change from what we've had in the past, certainly.
Is there much of a range difference between this and the passenger variant? I mean, can this fly a lot longer distances?
No, so there's no extra tanks in this at all. So the A330-200 has the same wing and centre tank, same fuel capacity that we have, although they probably wouldn't fill it up as much because obviously the more fuel you put in, the less people you can carry. So our range is identical to that of a civil variant of the A330. It just means the way that the wings work were perfect because they're a common wing with the A340, so where those engines would be on a 340 are our pods for the outboards. So the fuel system had very little to be done to modify it. So it means we can fly. I mean, technically we could fly direct to the Falklands with a full load of fuel, but not very many passengers, and obviously our crew duty would run out before we did that because we don't have a rest facility on board. We don't really need one because of the way that we operate. But no, it's in terms of range, it's identical. There's no difference to the actual fuel tanks and the system like that itself.
Fantastic. So a bit about yourself, Carl. Where did things start for you, your career? Where, all the flying, PPL or?
So I started flying when I was quite young. I grew up between the UK and the States. My family were out there, so I started when I was about 12 years old. I then went to university. I was sponsored by the RAF, so I was on the University Air Squadron in Oxford. When I then did officer training in 2006-2007, I did elementary flying training. I went rotary, so I flew the Chinook until 2013. I did a couple of seasons on the display team as well, which was very nice. So I'm familiar with air shows and podcasts like this. I then went over to the C-130J Super Hercules for 18 months, and then you may have heard we were sort of redistributing those and getting rid of some of the shorter ones. So I came across to Voyager at that point in 2015. So I've been here for just under 2 years now. So I've had quite an interesting career. I've bounced around all over the place, and that's great because fleets like this as well, I think it's quite nice to have the experience of different things come across, particularly with a lot of VC10 and TriStar guys came in here, so it's good having a different set of eyes on things, and there's actually a few of us now from Rotary that have come across, one of which is here today as well, from the SAR Force. So it's really interesting for that cross-pollination and keeping things interesting, really, to be honest. It's good.
Did you do any GA flying yourself?
Yeah, so I still actually do. So I still fly PA-28. I've got a tail dragger rating as well. I've flew a Chipmunk for quite a bit, and I started flying on Cessna 172 in the States. So I've been quite lucky to fly quite a few different things. And I love flying, so it's great to take your wife or children or friends out in a PA-28, you know, and show them what you do, but go out for lunch places and things like that. And we're very lucky to have aircraft at Price Norton as well. We have a military flying club there that allows us to do that fairly economically as well, which is nice.
So what's the future then hold for you, Carl? You got any big plans for the future and where you want to progress to, or other aircraft?
Yeah, I'd like to stay on this airframe, and I really like the VIP side of it as well. It's a really interesting thing to do, and the air-to-air refuelling is fantastic. So it's something, you know, fairly new to me, and that's great. So I plan on staying here. In terms of my career, I'm not sure yet whether or not I'd like to go a bit further up the chain in command, or whether I step out and keep flying at an airline. Obviously, this is quite a nice bit of experience to have for that. Or whether I do something completely different and just keep flying in general aviation to scratch that itch. I don't know. We'll just see where the next couple of years of my tour take me, and I'll make a decision from there. But I don't have any strong desires to step out from the RAF right now. I think it's quite an interesting place to be honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of the pilots we talk to tend to, like the airline pilots, tend to have come from an RAF background and moved from the RAF and gone into the airlines, and they all say it's a fairly easy sort of progression on.
It is, and because we actually here as well have the civil training, the type rating that we do is all based around civil procedures, and we also fly sometimes with air tanker cabin crew, so civil cabin crew on these on the military air transport flights. It's part of the contract with the way that leasing works, so that's quite interesting. We have sponsored reservist pilots from air tanker as well, who are civilians that then join the SR service to do some of our military routes, but they still fly the civil jet as well. So I've been on a trip recently actually where that chap had never been in the military before. He was an ex-Lufthansa pilot and a load of civil cabin crew. So that's quite an interesting insight, almost into the way that civil guys operate, because it's very different. So I kind of felt like the only military guy on the aircraft. So that's very useful to get used to that operating environment. And actually I think it brings a lot to us, because the training is quite different, and they do think about things differently. And I think that's got value for everyone, particularly in the air safety sort of realm. And I for one, I think the setup is fantastic with what they're supporting us with in terms of planning, the operations, everything that they do for us. I think it's just only enhancing this operation, enhancing the Air Force capability, which is a really nice place to be. And of course, like you say, it's a great stepping stone if you wish to go that way, and people do. They cross over, and I think that benefits the civil world as well, because they're bringing a set of eyes that from military flying to a company that may not have necessarily thought about it that way before. So it's good for everyone.
So what we always do on the show, Carl, is ask our pilots who we interview on the show one last question before we wrap things up. It's kind of drop you in it question, really. So it's basically given the chance to fly any aircraft, either retired or still flying now, military, commercial, whatever aircraft, what would be your aircraft of choice you'd love to jump into now?
Absolutely easy one for me. It's
really?
Yeah, absolutely. Since I was 4 years old, I've always wanted to fly Spitfires, and that might sound a bit corny from an RAF pilot, but it's something that I still hope to maybe one day be able to achieve. It's a dream to do it, and that is it. If I had one day left on Earth, I'd be stealing one.
Yeah, I've heard we covered a story a few weeks back where there's a company that does a flight experience for half an hour. I think it is $4,500
from Goodwood, I think, isn't it? Yeah, I actually have considered doing that. My English home is in Chichester, so right by Goodwood. I grew up a mile from the airfield, so I'm well aware of their operation. And I have many times considered doing that, but my wife would kill me if I. But you never know. In the future, yeah. That's something I really do hope to do.
Well, Carl Thomas, thank you ever so much for giving us your time today and allowing us on board this aircraft, and thanks for your service as well, and all the best for the future.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
What a really nice man.
He was fantastic. He's actually been in touch with us since I took an interview with him, and he's said that there's a very good possibility that we can get some pilots from 101 Squadron, from other aircraft to come on the show. So that'll be
watch
really
this
good.
Space then. Watch this space.
Yeah, so I hope we all enjoyed that, and that was really good. excellent day we had at Riyadh. So yeah,
absolutely. So we've got another air show coming up very, very shortly.
We have
in 2 Sundays' time. So it's not next week, but the week after. Yes. That is the 20th of August. We're going to be live from the Seething Air Show.
Yep.
And basically, it's I can't remember what it is, but it's quite a cheap one. It's not expensive to get in.
No, it's not expensive to get in. Under 16s are free to get in at Seething this year, and I'm not sure what the adult price is for the tickets to get in, but we will be there pretty much all day on the Sunday.
And we're hoping that Ned might be able to join us as well, I believe.
Yes, I think my car will go east from where I live, and another very long journey for not much distance,
about that.
Isn't it?
It's a bit of a thing. But to be fair, your car has had a reasonable rest this week, flirting with JCBs. So I think it's
it needs to stretch going up and down the M6 like some mad thing. And next week will be the same. I should be in near Captain Al country on Wednesday, in fact. So all over the shop.
You're right there, Al. Have you?
No, I'm here. Yeah, I was just thinking what a top bloke Flight Commander Thomas was, and how it must be a great shame for him to have ended up flying a grey one.
He'll be listening to this and watching this. So you'll have to get.
I did think about how we could snazz up the military part, and maybe if we just did like hashtag 50 Shades of Grey, maybe you could get the listenership up.
No. Anyway, well done.
The best part of that was bypassing a huge queue of people who were waiting to get on board the aircraft. I have to say, massive thanks to Kyle for pulling me and my dad onto the aircraft ahead of
Did you have any remorse to all the crying children in that queue?
None whatsoever.
No.
Goodness me, no. It's all about the aviation. So that is where we need to wrap things up, I'm afraid, guys. We need to bring episode number 176 to a close. Thank you so very much
to our
for
guests.
All of you for listening.
Just before we go...
Oh no! Yes.
I just wanted to say and personally apologise to anybody who was genuinely tuning in to listen to the military news, and I'm sorry that I've completely destroyed your listening enjoyment by dragging this out as long as I possibly can.
All their hopes and dreams.
I know, I know, but there we are.
Ladies, send your complaints to Captain Al.
Yeah.
You'll
find him on Twitter. It's fine.
But having looked at the show notes that you sent out in advance, you've not missed anything.
Okay, right.
So, saying our goodbyes, then we're going to start with ladies first. Then, Dr. Steph, we're going to say a massive thank you to you for taking time out at the end of your trip. And for joining us today, really. It's been great to catch up with you.
In case they're stuck under some kind of random stone, how on earth do they get hold of the marvellousness that is APG?
Well, they can head on over to airlinepilotguy.com, and you can find all of the information there about listening to our podcast. You can find me on Twitter, Dr. Steph Plum on Twitter. And we do a show about once a week for those who don't know. Times vary, so
I heard a rumor
the website you can usually.
I heard a rumor there might even be one possibly tonight. Or
tonight?
Perhaps that was. Perhaps I misread that in the chat room.
Steph, sometimes it's news to me too. So.
All right.
Jeff told us all except you.
Myself up in the executive lounge at the airport and fit in APT before the flight departs.
Yeah, that would be something. So actually, I really had not a whole lot on the agenda today, so this was wonderful, and thank you guys for the invitation. It was nice to be able to join you for a little while here.
Yeah, thank you, Steph.
Lovely Costa Rica, and in a little while I got to pack things up and head home. It's actually the time difference. Actually, Jeff was asking me earlier what time I get back tonight, but he says I'm no longer a part of the crew.
How rude! Yes. Yeah.
Hashtag awkward.
Oh dear. It's all gone horribly wrong.
That's airline pilots are so fickle, we just use and abuse.
Yep.
Indeed. So
no, don't worry. I will be back on the APG because as it's Also rightly noted, I am HR. So
yeah, indeed.
Well, you know, if you do get chucked out, Steph, you can always come and join us.
That's never going to happen. But,
firing a shareholder, isn't it?
No, that's not how it works. Yes.
A little bit.
We always also want to say a massive thanks as well to Pasadena Brian Coleman. Thank you ever so much for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, and Carlos, thanks so much for having me on, and the promotion as well. So my title at Airplane Geeks is actually associate producer, so I'm not chief executive producer or whatever you said, but it really doesn't matter. The pay is still the same.
Right, okay, so. Indeed. So in case other people have been stuck under a stone, how do they find the marvellousness that is Airplane Geeks?
You'll find it on a Royal Caribbean ship.
No, you won't.
No, I actually needed a backdrop to hide the contents of my bookcase because it was so embarrassing. And rather than clean it all out, I just figured it was easier to hang a banner.
It's a PG-rated show, and you didn't want to reveal the contents of your
Quite right, Mills and Boone.
Sorry,
yeah, that's it.
Indeed.
No, thank you, Brian.
Yeah, so of course going to the show airplanegeeks.com and Facebook and Twitter and all those things that I don't participate in.
Right.
You can find information about the show.
Yeah.
Sending me an email, best place is brian@airplanegeeks.com. I also wanted to do a little bit of self-promotion here in that I'm getting ready to go on my holiday, and I'm going to South Africa and Germany.
Wow.
So if anyone wanted to do
That's one heck of a cruise, Brian. How long
it is.
For?
Yeah, almost a month, quite honestly.
Wow.
So, yeah, really looking forward to it. So I'm going to have some time in Cape Town, August 25th to 30th. So if anyone is in Cape Town that wants to get together then, we could arrange something. If anyone is in Johannesburg on September 11th, could do that. I'll be in
look
Hamburg.
for my suitcase whilst you're there, please.
Yeah, I'll try and get it back for you. Since apparently I'm going to be carrying Captain Nick's balls back to England next time I come back.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, he left them in Pasadena, apparently. So
okay.
I volunteered to bring his balls back to him.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
No, I believe they were bocce balls or some sort of British lawn bowling thing.
Lawn bowling. Yeah.
Lawn bowling, so I'll do that.
I literally have no words.
Anyway.
Okay.
And we're going to say...
And now we're going to Captain Al.
Oh, no. We're got two more cities.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Carry on.
You were worried
this
about
is like
my
one more
presence on
thing.
the show.
Yeah, indeed.
Cool.
Anyway. Brian, carry on.
Brian, carry on.
So I'll be in Hamburg September 14th and 15th, and Berlin September 16th and 17th.
Very good.
So, and I'm going to get together with Tillman in Berlin. So
Tillman.
really looking
Which
forward
days
to
are you going to
that.
be in Berlin?
16th and 17th of September.
Oh.
Are you going to be there?
Like 3 days before me.
Oh, no. That is just that's typical. That is.
I don't get there until the 20th.
So if if they want to get in touch with you, Brian, to sort of arrange a meetup, it's brian@airplanegeeks.com. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Excellent.
Well, that's it. Thanks so much.
No problem. So, Captain Al, he says nervously. Captain Al, always a pleasure, never a chore. It's been so much fun having you on, as always, mate. It's been a real pleasure. And thank you for sort of squeezing us in. So, where are you at the moment?
Well, to be honest, I've lost track of where I am because I'm just trying to get the vision of Captain Nick's balls in Brian's hands. And I just keep having these images flash before my eyes. So I really can't remember where I am or what the name of the hotel is or indeed which country I'm in. So, no, actually, I'm in Leeds this week. You'll largely find me in the sky or sat in a queue waiting for an air traffic control slot to be alleviated.
Yeah.
Or if you don't happen to be flying with me, and if you are, please do say hello, and I will probably say hello back. You can find me on Twitter at Big Al Evans 70, or under a stone asleep.
having a nap
or near
somewhere.
the nearest ice cream van.
Right, of course, yes, absolutely. Nev, as always, a great pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us, the legend that is, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time. That's
indeed. I'm looking forward to that. I hope the weather's kind to us as well.
Fingers and toes all crossed with not tied in anything else
for this segment as well, Nev.
Pleasure. Yeah,
absolutely.
Top work.
Who have we got next week, by the way? Oh, it is Mr. Coleman, isn't it?
Yes,
sorry.
I've given you a bit of a preview. It is the one and only Brian Coleman,
Excellent.
and he's got some very interesting views, as you can imagine.
And some of them are positive too.
Yeah, to be fair, actually, you gave a very
I've just thought of a brilliant idea. We're going to get some raffle tickets together.
Right.
And what we're going to do is we're going to sell them to raise some money. And the next time that Brian Coleman's in the UK, we're going to send him on a Ryanair flight.
Oh, yes.
And then we're going to get Nev to interview him.
There is talk of Brian being in this area sort of January time. So
yeah, I do believe Brian may well be in the area.
Yeah, what we're going to do is going to put him on a night Ibiza flight.
Right. Okay. Yeah. See if we can arrange it so that you're on the same flight with someone else we know. But anyway, we're going to gloss over that and say it is time to bring the show to a close. If you're interested in what you're listening to here, obviously, then you will find us on our social media. That is at Plane Talking UK if you're on Twitter. It's facebook.com/Plane Talking UK if you want us on Facebook. Yes. And of course, please do send in audio feedback. We do love to hear from you.
We haven't had any for ages.
We haven't had any for a little while. So please do send it in. It is podcast@planetalkinguk.com.
So that's where we bring episode 176 to a close. We'll be back to normal scheduling hours next week. Friday, 7 p.m. will be live next Friday for episode 177.
Indeed.
So that's it then. We're going to say a massive goodbye to everyone.
APG is 5 p.m. EDT, 2200 UTC.
And just quickly, a massive thanks to everyone as well in the chat room who's joined us today.
It's been so busy today.
It's been a busy chat room today. So thanks to everyone who's joined us in the chat room today on YouTube.
That's it. It's time to say goodbye, everyone.
Wave.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.